Chapter 4341, The Divine Ascension Ladder. As Lin Moyu paused for just a moment, already 2 figures fell from the Divine Ascension Ladder. Those who plummeted down could not control their bodies. About 10 meters before hitting the ground, an array caught them. But this array was not meant to protect them. It merely prevented the land below from damage. The array bristled with spikes, so instead of gently landing, the fallen were skewered. Their bodies became riddled with holes, pierced like a beehive. This did not touch their souls, so the wounds were not fatal. In truth, to most cultivators, bodily wounds were minor matters. But the pain, that could not be avoided. Looking at their twisted faces and clenched teeth, one could guess how excruciating it was. Pain itself was the punishment for failing the ascension ladder. Laughter rang out from the bystanders. Finally, some atmosphere stirred in this tense place. Watching another's misfortune was always entertaining. Seems like gossip is the same among all races, Lin Moyu murmured, then straightened himself and began his climb in earnest. Step after step, the pressure grew steadily, but for Lin Moyu, this was child's play. He walked briskly, his steps light and stable, faster than most by far. His speed soon attracted attention. Such a steady stride, no falters, no change, it was obvious. The divine ladder reminded him of a long ago experience in the small world, when he ascended a trial stairway to obtain divine power. The 2 ladders differed in form, but their essence was much the same. Back then, he had been weak. Now, he smiled faintly at the memory as he accelerated upward. In the blink of an eye, he had already passed 1/3 of the climb. The pressure had doubled from the first step to the present, but still, it was nothing. His pace increased further. Before him, on this particular staircase, 4 climbers were visible. Of them, the fastest had reached past 2/3. Another slightly above half. The third just below the midway point. Now Lin Moyu's pace closed quickly upon the third, ready to surpass. At his sudden surge, many onlookers noticed. So fast. He's only chaos lesser completion. To climb so easily, the man's battle strength must be terrifying. Someone shook their head. The divine ladder isn't mysterious. It doesn't test cultivation, it tests resistance to pressure at your stage. Every so often, someone emerges who can endure far more than their peers. It isn't strange. Even if he finishes the ladder, it doesn't mean he'll be admitted to the God Alliance. Yes, the Alliance already has plenty of members. Word is, admission standards grow harsher every year. Fast now doesn't mean fast later. He might tire, slow, or fail. Onlookers came from many races, yet for this moment, gossip united them. Seeing another fail was amusing. Seeing one too strong provoked envy. Such was the contradiction of all sentient beings: mock the weak, envy the strong. Lin Moyu paid them no mind. He simply pressed into greater speed. The third-ranked climber glanced back as Lin Moyu overtook him, and his face twisted with humiliation. For him, every step was agony, a mountain's weight upon flesh and soul. But Lin Moyu walked as though on level ground. And they were both chaos lesser completion. Shame bit deep. Watching Lin Moyu's figure soar ever higher, his humiliation turned into powerless despair. One rule governed the ladder: never obstruct others. Any who tried would be crushed by the Central Domain God Alliance. So he could only glare upward in silence. Lin Moyu soon surpassed the second man as well, and then looked ahead toward the palace atop the ladder. It was then he felt it. A will, vast and domineering, gazing down from the God Alliance's palace. The will was strong, surely that of a full completion cultivator. So my speed drew their attention. He grinned lightly. In that case, let's make it even more obvious. Lin Moyu needed more than to simply finish the ladder. He wanted entry to the God Alliance. This test was only a gate. If a full completion was already watching him, then he would make them remember him. Sometimes, modesty was wise. Sometimes, eminence was required. His steps quickened again. The second man was left behind in a blur, and Lin Moyu charged upward. The pressure of the ladder meaningless to him. Voices below gasped. He can still accelerate. Does he feel no weight? Impossible. Look at the others, they struggle for each step. And he walks like nothing. Could it be his battle strength is already this monstrous? He's only chaos lesser completion. However strong, there should be a limit. The ladder is no casual stroll. They weren't wrong, but Lin Moyu was different. His body and soul had undergone 10 refinements no ordinary lesser completion could compare. His chaos reconstruction with the chaos pearl elevated him above the very foundation of his peers. Beyond that, the ladder's pressure could be partially distributed to his undead servants and to his domain. 3 layers of reinforcement. Together, they made the ladder irrelevant. At 2/3, the ladder's oppressive weight jumped again several times stronger than before. This was the true test. The one in first place trembled with each single step, forced to rest between strides. But Lin Moyu brushed past, his pace untouched. The former leader's eyes bulged as Lin Moyu overtook him. It's impossible. He rubbed his eyes as though disbelief could erase the sight. His own strength in his realm was considered dominant that crushed his peers within his clan. He had believed in 80% certainty of finishing the ladder. Speed had never mattered. Finishing was itself a feat enough. But Lin Moyu's effortless transcendence shattered his pride. He realized starkly, he was far from the peak of his realm. Lin Moyu reached the top. 5 minutes. Where others would labor half a day or longer, he had crossed in mere moments. In truth, he could have done it in under a single minute. But he chose restraint, enough to shock but not enough to appear a monster. At the summit lay an open square. Beyond it, a broad lake. The palace of the Central Domain God Alliance sat at its heart. Across the water lay a single bridge, a floating bridge to the palace. Lin Moyu muttered, "So the second trial is to cross the lake. If I am right, the bridge will not be so simple. Likely, a battle awaits." With his undead eye, he peered beneath the lake. There, countless soul flames writhed. Some weak, half-step chaos. Others strong, great completion. Every level, every flame waiting. The second test had begun. 4342. 4342. Chapter 4342, Little Friend, Can You Comprehend Formations? At this moment, Lin Moyu stood only 1,000 meters from the Central Domain God Alliance's Grand Palace. He needed just to cross a few 100-meter floating bridge, and he would enter. Faintly, he saw a silhouette appear within the palace. The very same who had earlier cast willpower down upon him during his climb of the Divine Ascension ladder. Now again, those eyes fixed upon him. He strode toward the bridge. There were 8 floating bridges, each corresponding to one of the 8 ascension ladders. No one explained rules to him, no one needed to. It was like stepping onto a battlefield who would pause mid-war to explain how to fight. Only 2 truths mattered here: kill the enemy and survive. So too now, walk the bridge, reach the Alliance Pavilion. The moment his foot touched the bridge, light flared. Space trembled, stretching massively outward. Where once the palace was a mere few 100 meters away, it became tens of thousands of meters. The lake beneath seethed as countless chaos lesser completion fish beasts erupted, launching themselves toward him. Lesser completion, many in number, none in strength. Lin Moyu's gaze saw clearly. Though they matched his realm, their combat ability was lowest tier among their stage. Even Little Pung could crush them. Chaos beast strength could not be measured by rank alone, race and intelligence made enormous differences. These were cannon fodder, mindless, unfit except as a trial. He unleashed a palm. Great Tao Annihilation Palm. A colossal palm print swept through the bridgeway, blasting apart dozens instantly. Palm after palm fell hundreds, thousands. He shredded a corridor through the swarming pack in breaths. Stride by stride, he advanced through the path of destruction. Halfway across already, behind him lay corpses uncountable. But from the waters, stronger emerged. Their numbers fewer but their bodies mightier. At last, some fish beasts resisted his palm strikes, breaking his annihilation palm and forcing through. Lin Moyu's wings of disorder spread abruptly, their chaotic winds roaring outward. In an instant, space itself twisted, every law in proximity snared and knotted into a snarl of madness. The beasts flailed, their very source of power severed. Their wills tangled into confusion, unable to even sense their target. Light motes burst from the wings' chaos sprites, swirling to alight upon the monsters. Each monster screamed once, then turned savage but not at him. They tore into one another. The battlefield devolved into chaos. Lin Moyu advanced at ease through the growing disarray. Then the waters thundered. A massive leviathan surged free, so vast in girth it dwarfed the others. Its strength pressed close upon chaos' greater completion, lacking only a step yet formidable beyond any lesser completion. This was the final guard. Lin Moyu's eyes cooled. Without hesitation, he drew upon the power of 5 world domains. Silently, that infinite force flowed into his palm. Great Tao Annihilation Palm. Now backed by domain power, it was no longer the same technique, it surpassed his earlier strikes by an entire order of magnitude. When he had devised this art, His vision had been to condense the infinite forces of myriad realms, refine them to essence, and fling it in one strike. As long as power could be gathered, the palm's strength had no limit. It crushed toward the beast. The Leviathan bellowed, colliding headlong as if unaware of peril, mind enslaved, bravery born of ignorance. But Lin Moyu did not watch. He already knew the outcome. Behind him, the monstrous body dissolved into powder under his sweeping palm print, scattered into void dust. The bridge lay clear. With simple, steady strides, Lin Moyu set foot upon the platform at the gates of the Central Domain God Alliance's palace. Glorious and imposing, the palace walls towered. Everywhere murals stretched in grand scenes, armies in combat, titans in battle. As his eyes lingered, the images came to life. The painted wars replayed vividly like moving visions, revealing once more the struggles of ages past. Mighty heroes rose against the void, smashing their foes, bleeding into victory. "They were the heroes of my Central Domain," came a voice. From the palace emerged an old man. His steps were calm, his aura profound. In chaos, age was no barometer. Some who wore a child's form had lived eons, some gray-withered men had seen but mere millions of years. Appearance was preference, nothing more. This old man's face was aged, but his aura was supple, fresher than any phoenix elder Lin Moyu had met. He radiated chaos-full completion, yet greeted Lin Moyu with a smile of warmth. Lin Moyu recognized him as human. He quickly gave the respectful traditional human greeting. Junior Lin Moyu greets the senior. The old man blinked, surprised. That greeting. Lin Moyu blinked back. Is there something wrong with my courtesy? The old man chuckled. No. It is only, you have used the oldest human ritual, now scarcely seen. Few remember it. Lin Moyu frowned inwardly. This was the traditional ceremony he had always known, since his earliest training, passed from his small world into this. Never had he thought it was ancient. Has senior met any others use it, then? Rarely, but yes, it is not forgotten. Why do you ask? Nothing, perhaps I overthought. Lin Moyu waved it off, concealing his true unease. Then he changed tone. This junior wishes to join the Central Domain God Alliance. What further must I do? The old man smiled kindly. You've passed the tests of pressure and combat. Only one trial remains. Pass it, and you are within. Please follow me. He seemed genuinely warm, not arrogant, not aloof. Unusual among strong ones of chaos. Lin Moyu felt it unnatural. Strong in chaos were never simple. This man clearly had other designs. He probed, might I know senior's honored name? The elder chuckled knowingly. You wonder why I show you such courtesy, child? If you pass the final test, you'll know. My name as well you will learn once within the alliance. Lin Moyu's eyes flickered. There was something strange here. But no path offered except forward. He would piece the riddles apart later. The old man walked him through the palace. A grand central hall branched into left and right, each lined with trials. The elder led him down the left way, stopping before a chamber door. He turned and asked with a smile. Little friend, can you comprehend formations? 4343, 4343. Chapter 4343, Assessment Formation. At the doorway, the old man suddenly asked. Lin Moyu did not conceal. Somewhat versed, he replied simply. Good, then your final trial for entering the alliance shall be formation. The old man pressed a palm to the great door. With a heavy rumble, the door opened. Enter. May you break the tests within and emerge successful. Lin Moyu sensed no lethal danger. And besides, at this point, there was no choice. He bowed slightly, and stepped through. The massive doors sealed behind him, gloom replaced by faint illumination. Beyond them was a vast transformed space, an environment remade to resemble chaotic void. Foggy mists churned, indistinguishable from true chaos itself. Beneath his feet rested a hovering disk, 2 meters wide, etched with runes of a formation. But, fractured, damaged. The old man's voice echoed, unseen. This test is of formation. You must mend the disk formation beneath your feet. Then, use this disk to navigate through void, finding formations hidden within the mist. They are broken, they must be repaired. Within this void lie 10 formations. To pass, you must restore at least 7. Beware, void harbors danger. Do not step from the disk. Lin Moyu studied silently. The fog drowned his sight, hiding all treasures and tests. For him it posed little obstacle. His worry lay not in danger. What dangers could there be? He knew the alliance would not demand of a candidate what was beyond their level. And he within same realm, was invincible. Even against chaos greater completion, he could contend. So his stronger interest lay in the formation challenge. First task, repair the disc beneath. This was to be his tool for moving within void. He inspected briefly. At once he understood the flaws entirely. Without materials, only runes, he swiftly set to work. A flick of sigils, a twist of glyphs. In mere moments, the disc was whole again. The trial's foundation was so low it posed no challenge. The disc hummed, rose and bore him into the fog. Meanwhile, the old man who guided him stepped into another room. Within, 4 others sat cross-legged. At the room's center, a projection showing Lin Moyu. As the elder entered, Lin Moyu had just fixed the disc, rising into void. The elder froze. So fast. Another nodded thoughtfully. 18 breaths. Far faster than expected. The elder exhaled. When he first arrived in Wangdong world, I detected intense rune aura about him. That alone marked him as one who worked with sigils often. But I did not imagine his formation mastery to be this high. Now hope rises. Another added, when we discovered him, I wished to bring him over immediately. Never expected he would climb the ascension ladder himself. A twist of fate, destiny, perhaps. A scoff, and still you believe heaven's will? A chuckle answered, why not? Sometimes, one must. They bantered lightly, all while staring at the projection. Eyes fixed on Lin Moyu's next move. The disc soared into fog. Lin Moyu circled, seeking. Nothing revealed. Naturally, for an assessment, it would not be simple. But disappointment didn't touch him. He guided the disc further, tracing the void's edges until he found its borders. Small indeed, the void was restricted. He then acted. One rune after another flashed from his hand, embedding into the void edge. A great net, an all-encompassing array spread and sealed the entire space. His soul force surged in and the formation flared. At once, the mist scattered. The fog dissolved. But no formations appeared. Of course, the fog was but illusion. In the chamber, watchers smiled knowingly. A clever attempt, but wrong path. Fog was not the key. Even so, his formation level is already impressive. That matter may truly be achievable through him. Another cautioned, not so fast. Watch longer. That matter is critical. If a misstep is made, a certain Eastern Extreme Supreme may strike. The guiding elder said softly, you've missed it. His array is not yet finished. Keep silent and just watch. Back within void, Lin Moyu spoke low to himself. Of course, no such simplicity. My array to disperse fog was merely the first step. The true work begins now. A divine rune flew out, triggering a new surge. The entire void trembled. Space itself warped. Ripple after ripple spread outward. Not fog but hidden between layers. The formations were lodged in spatial seams. In chaos, many layers overlapped. Who knew how many? Each bonded at edges, forming gaps. Narrow seams, invisible unless stirred. The divine phoenix ancestral land itself once hid in such a seam. Now Lin Moyu folded the void like pages of a book, turning every layer over, exposing all seams. Anything hidden would be forced to surface. Whether formation, or danger, it would be revealed. Ripples thickened. Space quaked. In 10 breaths, a broken formation emerged at last, its faint light flickering into view. So it is within the seam. Lin Moyu gave a short, confident laugh. His judgment perfect. But he did not rush to fix it. Instead, he continued turning, churning, pressing space further. More formations appeared, one after another rising into light. He sought not one but all 10. Only then would he calmly begin repairs. In the watching chamber, the elders fell silent. A short while ago, they debated his chances. Now words failed. This candidate had uncovered the hidden path so quickly, so decisively. One whispered, he's stronger, sharper than we thought. Another could only nod. The guiding elder slapped his thigh. Excellent, truly excellent. The brighter his command of formation, the more hope there was that the coming plan could succeed. This was greater cause for joy than any. And so, they watched to see Lin Moyu draw forth all 10 secrets from the void. 4344. 4344. Chapter 4344, the 11th Formation. The old man who had guided Lin Moyu looked delighted, but one of the others beside him snorted, Old Third, don't rejoice too soon. The best result would be if he can locate all 11 formations. The old man chuckled, whether he finds them or not, being glad for the moment does no harm. Earlier, He had told Lin Moyu that there were 10 formations hidden in this void. To pass, it would be enough to repair 7. But in truth, there were 11. The last was concealed the deepest. This trial was divided into 2 parts. The first was to find the formations. The second to repair them. There were 11 in total. The last was extraordinarily hidden, so finding 10 was already impressive. Repairing them was even harder. Repairs came with dangers, thus repairing 7 was the passing score. But if someone found the final formation, or repaired more than 7, it was an over-completion. Such results were naturally best. Formation after formation surfaced from the folded seams of space. In only half a day, 10 ruined arrays floated visible, quivering within distorted space. Lin Moyu examined them carefully, his expression puzzled. These 10 seemed somehow linked, as though parts of a single formation cluster. Looking closer, he was certain. These 10 broken arrays formed merely a fragment of a much larger network. This cluster is far too vast. These 10 are only the tip of the iceberg. If dismantled, they would be understood as just one function of the larger grouping. He furrowed his brows. But 10 aren't enough, it's missing 1. He had never seen this mythical cluster before. But with his mastery of formation deduction, he reversed from the 10 pieces, and in his mind a huge formation group shimmered faintly into view, blurred but undeniable. And at its corner, these 10 imperfect fragments. Though yet unrepaired physically, in his awareness they were already fixed and united. They formed one complete function, but incomplete, for one piece was absent. It was a coordinating array. Without it, the 10 could not merge, rendering them useless. Lin Moyu's mind sharpened. So, there must be an 11th hidden still. All the seam-hidden formations had already been pulled out. If another one lurked, there could be only one explanation. This last formation bore spatial attributes, able to shift with the space itself. Like waves could overturn ships, but not sweep the fish swimming beneath. He smiled darkly. In that case, let's muddy the waters. Create a whirlpool and even fish will be dragged forth. His wings of disorder snapped wide, beating torrents of chaotic wind. Countless light motes leapt from the feathers, chaos sprites, merging their strength into the gale. The void warped further. What had been rolling waves of folded space twisted into whirlpools. Whirl collided with whirl, creating greater chaos. Rules fractured. Void thickened like swampy paste. In such turbulence, anything hidden would be exposed. Unless it truly did not exist. At last, through the turbulence, a sliver gleam flickered fragment of the hidden array. Unlike the others, this one yet carried operational force, clinging to space itself. That was why it had not emerged before. But now, the chaos churned too violently even for it to cling. A corner slipped free. Just as I thought. Lin Moyu's eyes lit, flashing with fierce confidence. His deduction had proven flawless. The 11th formation existed. With only a corner revealed, it was enough. He would grasp the whole. He began engraving runes. The 10 broken arrays would serve as anchors. Through them, he could pull the 11th into view. For all 11 were parts of a single greater cluster. By causal law, where one part emerged, the others must respond. In the God Alliance Palace chamber, the watching elders were stunned into silence. At last the guiding old man erupted in joy. He really found it. So young, and already this proficient in formation, marvelous. Another nodded grimly. Truly extraordinary. With this skill, repairing won't be difficult. It seems, this plan can succeed. Faces lightened. Hope was visible. The old man laughed again. At least now our chances are far greater than before. One hushed. He's about to begin repairs. Let us watch closely. See his hand. Hand technique. To Lin Moyu, this was basic work. One by one, sigils blazed far beyond ordinary divine runes. More complex, reshaped into chaotic god scripts. There were endless forms of chaos runes. Each race had their own. But all variations of the same core. Lin Moyu was a master of unification through one law, reaching 100. He had not abandoned his foundation of divine sigils. He had evolved them, rewritten them into chaos form. In moments, thousands of runes shone in air, interlinking, patching broken sequences like glowing sutures. A wave of his hand. The runes darted like hawks, embedding into fractures precisely, as though each rune knew instinctively its place. The 10 arrays came alive together. Light erupted, power of space resonated, cracks yawned in void. And from them, rose a roar. Bestial, savage. Eyes of titans leer from the rifts. The danger was here. Within 3 of those arrays were spaces sealed. And within them, beasts imprisoned. When broken, they stayed locked. But now, mended, they surged free. 3 monstrosities lunged out, massive, howling wrath. They were apex chaos lesser completions, terrifying in force. Lin Moyu chuckled softly, his hand moved lazily, 2 fingers swaying. At once the 10 arrays detonated with thunder. The space before him fragmented, shredding beast and void alike to particles. Then, world-burning fire swept up, searing the ruin into a hellscape of flame. The beasts were ash, the arrays, restored, hope ignited. 4345, 4345. Chapter 4345, The Cross-Domain Grand Array has a problem. The 10 formations unleashed immense power, shredding space itself, and the 3 colossal beasts were pulverized into dust. Even Lin Moyu, the one responsible, was surprised by the sheer might displayed. These 10 formations did not seem overly complex, yet their effect was astonishing. Even if he had laid them personally, he might not have reached this caliber. The one who had originally created these 10 must have been a formation master of astounding skill, likely on par, or even superior to Lin Moyu himself. Individually, each of these 10 served little function. But when coordinated, they could obliterate chaos lesser completion in an instant. Formation simplified to its essence, then refined again into vast complexity, this method. The structures opened a new path of thought in Lin Moyu's mind. He realized formations could be manipulated in ways he had not considered. He had always known the principles, yet he never thought to apply them like this. By drawing new inferences from old principles, his comprehension of formation deepened another layer. Even if he failed the broader trial, his journey here was already worthwhile. Next he must use these 10 formations to drag out the hidden 11th. The 5 who had been watching wore satisfied smiles. Lin Moyu's performance had not only met their expectations, it had exceeded them. He had located the fabled 11th formation, restored all 10 broken ones in one smooth gesture, and used them as a unified core to destroy sealed beasts. This series of feats was more than enough for a full score. Now no one doubted that Lin Moyu could fuse the 11th into wholeness. For him, it was no real challenge. One of them voiced what weighed on their minds. Now, should we entrust that task to him? This trial had always been about more than joining the Central Domain God Alliance. Its true purpose was to find one who could accomplish something far greater. They debated quickly. I say yes. We've tried others. In testing, they barely scraped through at best. I agree. At least this one's mastery of formation exceeds all others. The only flaw, his cultivation isn't strong enough. That can be compensated. In fact, in this matter, being too strong would work against it. The 5 nodded. Their choice was made. The 11 arrays, originally one whole, now aligned. Lin Moyu pulled the final shard out of warped space, bridging it with the 10 repaired fragments. The structure clicked into completion. Power world, the formation awakened. Rumble, space shattered, light seared, then he blinked. He stood in another chamber. Before him, seated, were the 5 elders. Smiling. Among them, the old man who had guided him. The elder stepped forward, smiling calmly. Allow us to introduce ourselves. We are elders of the Central Domain God Alliance. You may call me the 3rd elder. These 4 second elder, 4th, 7th, and 9th. The elders of the Central Domain God Alliance were those with true authority. At least within Wangdong world, their word was law. 9 elders together manage the Eastern Division. Above them was the Eastern Alliance Lord, currently in seclusion. Thus, these 5 jointly oversaw all affairs. None was greater in rank than the others, they were ordered only by seniority. Lin Moyu bowed. Respected elders, has this junior passed? The 3rd elder nodded. Of course, you have passed. For you to join the God Alliance is no problem at all. But one question, why seek to enter? Lin Moyu said honestly, this junior must travel to the eastern extreme. The 5 nodded in unison. They understood. At his level, flight alone would take ages, incomprehensible. He needed the cross-domain Grand Array. And to use the array you needed Alliance membership. The 3rd elder's eyes narrowed slightly. So little friend seeks the eastern extreme, on some task. Lin Moyu replied, it is to help a senior complete a mission. Of what nature, I cannot say. I swore once I must not reveal it. The elder studied him with sharp gaze, then sighed. This is your private matter. We should not pry, but there is misfortune, the cross-domain Grand Array. It has developed a problem. Lin Moyu froze. A problem? Does this mean, he cannot use it? If it were unusable, his plan might crumble. He might have to divert elsewhere, waiting for its repair. But what if the grand array never recovered? The expressions of the elders, the elaborate evaluation he'd been put through, it was clear. This was not simple. If it were just alliance entry, it would not warrant 5 elders gathering in person. His eyes sharpened. Might I ask what kind of problem? The third elder folded his hands. This is also what we old fellows must entrust to you. But before details, little friend, you must swear. None of what is said here must leak outside. Lin Moyu's heart sank. That proved it. Whatever trouble plagued the array was immense. And he knew, if he refused, they would certainly bar him from using it at all. And to wait, waiting, to such powers, meant millions, even tens of millions of years. That was nothing to them. But to him, it would destroy his pursuit. So he replied, firmly, I will swear. The third elder produced a circular stone. This is the stone of chaos rules. Inject your soul, and swear with your own Tao. Lin Moyu complied. The oath was not excessive, it demanded only secrecy. When he finished, the stone dissolved into white dust. Thunder echoed across the void. His vow was sealed. Then the third elder spoke frankly. The cross-domain array has 2 ends. Here in Lindong City, and the other hidden within a spatial seam at the eastern extreme. It is that end that has gone astray. We do not know precisely why. But it has displaced, vanished into void. We can detect faint traces, damage, dislocation. The extent cannot yet be measured, nor the position locked. What we know is this: many central domain cultivators crossed, and now, none return. Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed. The truth, at last. The elder's voice grew solemn. We hope you will go, find the array, and restore it. Lin Moyu's thoughts raced. So this entire trial had been aimed at one thing: to test his formation mastery. And because he had shown enough skill, they demanded of him this impossible quest. It was not that central domain lacked talented formation masters. But those of real power were full completions, forbidden to cross. And those of lesser stage, lacked his brilliance. He exhaled, then nodded. I request more precise information. This was already agreement. Refusal was useless. He had to go. The elders exchanged warm smiles. Of course. The task was sealed. Lin Moyu would go to the eastern extreme to hunt down the broken array lost in void. And repair it. 4346. 4346. Chapter 4346, Go be a repairman. At present, the cross-domain grand array could still be used, but only for passage outward, not back. The array situated at the eastern extreme was currently in lost contact. Only vague reports came through. It was damaged, and its positioning had shifted. If Lin Moyu transmitted across, it would only send him somewhere nearby, not precisely to the intended destination. Once there, he would have no way back. Unless he repaired the eastern extreme's end of the array, returning meant flying home. This issue had lingered for tens of thousands of years. In all that time, many cultivators crossed using the array. None could return by transmission. They had to fly, and many suffered misfortune along the way, some wounded, some dead. The Central Domain God Alliance had sought a solution for millennia. But full completion cultivators could not cross. Those who were Chaos lesser, greater completion lacked the formation mastery to fix the array. Now finally, they had Lin Moyu. They would not let him slip away. The third elder smiled. In truth, from the moment you reached Wingding World, we noticed you. The aura of runes on your body was thick, clear proof you've long worked closely with formations. Lin Moyu asked curiously. Chaos is immense, with countless strong. Even just within humanity, there should be innumerable formation masters. Why claim none can be found? The third elder shook his head. It's not so simple. Many formation users exist, but most are half-baked. Consider, chaos-born creatures rely upon bloodline inheritance for formations. That caps them. Their ceiling is low, impossible to break. Cultivators derive formations through personal comprehension. This ceiling is higher, with a chance to break through limits. Among humanity, there are many formation masters. But the number of top-tier ones, very few. Second and third rate abound. A rare first class arises, but by then, they're usually full completion themselves. You understand, formation mastery almost always scales with cultivation realm. Lin Moyu nodded. Indeed, this was the normal way. The elder continued. In chaos, there exists a special race, the Yantian race. It's said they were born from a single chaos rune. They are innately attuned to glyphs and arrays. Any random clansman would be a first-class formation master. They're elite's absolute apex. They could fix the cross-domain array. But, they're from the western extreme. For ordinary arrays, we might hire them. But for this array, impossible. It's far too important. We cannot let outsiders from another domain meddle. It must be repaired by central domain forces. The central domain was vast but candidates were scarce. For tens of thousands of years, not one reliable choice emerged. A few half-suitable prospects appeared. If forced, in another few millennia, they might have sent one to try. But now they had Lin Moyu. The third elder continued softly. You must understand this array was laid by a supreme himself during construction. It was hidden from eastern extreme eyes. But since then, supremes will not intervene lightly. If the array is revealed, it becomes our vulnerability in future wars with the eastern extreme. This repair must be quiet, flawless, unnoticed. Lin Moyu understood. Of course the eastern extreme had their own cross-domain arrays implanted in the central domain. Both sides knew, neither knew where. Were they discovered, they'd be exploited. He said firmly, very well, I'll do my best. The old man nodded. Do not overextend. If it proves impossible, retreat first. Wait for another chance. A warship departed Guangdong World, bound for Lindong City. This warship was special built for Alliance use. Its engines screamed across chaos, needing just 10 days to reach Lindong. Lindong City was a military fortress hidden in chaos. Its location never revealed, always cloaked. Few had ever heard its true coordinates. The array anchor lay within. Only Alliance warships could reach it. The vessel cut through void, plunging directly into spatial seams. Speed surged. Direction remained concealed, impossible for pursuers to track. Disadvantage. Difficult navigation. Who knew how far, or which way? But not this ship. Its route was absolute. Only the loop between Guangdong World and Lindong City. It possessed fixed coordinates, unmoving. It flew itself, autopilot, no one even needed to steer. The third elder set a tea table, sighed, 10 days travel. Lin, little friend, let's chat, pass the time. They sat. The teaware were treasures, automatically brewing without intervention. The old man handed over a storage ring. These are the materials necessary for repairs. They should suffice. Use as needed. If extras remain, keep them. Payment for your trouble. Lin Moyu checked. Fully prepared, refined materials. Directly usable. He smiled faintly. Senior thought of everything. The elder's eyes glimmered warmly, as though looking at a cherished junior. Lin, little friend, so young. Lin Moyu had cultivated less than 20,000 years. That was absurdly young for chaos. Some born of chaos had still not become even Dao Lords after 20,000 years. He smiled back. Junior simply had some fortuitous encounters, and thus progressed quickly. But the old man knew better. You are too modest. Fortuity may hasten cultivation level. But understanding of formations and runes. That is not luck. You'll see, within the central domain, cultivation itself is not impressive. When you enter the human imperial city, you'll learn what plentiful means. Lesser completion is nothing. Greater completion everywhere. Even full completion only begins to count. Lin Moyu nodded inwardly. He knew already. Some like the purple gold phoenix were full completions but of different caliber. Strengths vast apart. The elder continued. If I'm not mistaken, you came via the Divine Phoenix clan, yes? Lin Moyu nodded. I happened into Luoyu World during the Three Phoenix Festival. Stayed a while. The elder smiled knowingly. There was news that someone, during the festival, claimed all 9 purple gold fruits. That wasn't you, was it? Lin Moyu didn't deny. Indeed, it was. The elder laughed heartily. Good, good, good. What a child. Such fortune, to be favored by the purple gold phoenix. Outstanding. He clearly didn't know the deeper meaning of the purple gold fruit. Understandable. That was the Phoenix clan's most guarded secret. Only the 3 phoenixes and 8 kings knew and never spoke. Lin Moyu saw no reason to correct him. Then suddenly the ship shuddered. A ripple of unseen force swept through it. The third elder didn't react, clearly accustomed. Behind Lin Moyu, shadows of 5 domains flickered faintly. The elder froze, eyes wide. Little friend, you are a domain lord. 4347, 4347. Chapter 4347, Success by Domain, Defeat by Domain. Lin Moyu never expected that his domain phantom would suddenly manifest. Even when actively drawing on the power of his domain, he could conceal it. Hiding strength was the basic principle. He had only just stepped into chaos. Of course, he wouldn't reveal everything so quickly. Yet just now, his domain phantom had revealed itself, spotted by the third elder. Since it was already seen, Lin Moyu didn't bother denying. Junior was simply fortunate. The third elder chuckled. Little friend, no need for such caution. This old man bears no ill will. What just happened was merely the border defensive array scanning. It exposes even things one seeks to hide. No way around it. This is the frontier. We've fought several wars already with the eastern extreme. We remain ever alert. It had happened, so there was no sense dwelling on it. Instead, Lin Moyu grew interested in this border array. This defensive array seems to have vast range. The third elder nodded. More than vast. It spans the entire border of the central domain, enclosing the whole. If enemies try to invade, the array detects and warns immediately. Border hubs like Guangdong World then dispatch forces to deal with it. But the array is not perfect. Some can slip past its senses. It may fail to catch one or two intruders. But mass forces, impossible to conceal. Lin Moyu sighed. To extend such an array across all central domain, what a monumental undertaking. The old man smiled proudly. Yes, it cost the labor of 1,000,000 formation masters, working tens of thousands of years. But enough about that. What strikes me is you, little friend, you are a domain lord. Reaching full completion is essentially a certainty. Praised, Lin Moyu gave only a small smile. Too much modesty here would look like arrogance. After all, transcending one's world to establish a personal domain was rare enough. To become a domain lord, that was infinitely more difficult. Whoever reached it stood very close to chaos full completion. The third elder's eyes narrowed. And you must also know this truth. Success by domain, defeat by domain. Lin Moyu grew serious. Senior, please enlighten me. The elder explained. For domain lords, the path upwards is smooth. When they strike at full completion, they seldom must find new domains. Often, they succeed in one attempt. But here's the flaw: their strength suffers. The might of a full completion being comes chiefly from the strength of their domain. Rising too quickly results in a weak domain. And once you become full completion, further strengthening the domain becomes far harder. Why? Chaos rules decreed it so. Even I do not know. But such is reality. He fixed Lin Moyu with a steady look. So, it is best you strengthen your domain before full completion. Lin Moyu didn't ask why. He asked instead, how can I strengthen it? The third elder pondered, then produced a jade slip, engraving information into it, and handed it over. Within are several methods. Read and decide for yourself. Lin Moyu bowed in respect. Thank you, senior. He read carefully. The information was rich in detail: what materials worked, where to find them, how to apply them, which combinations gave greater efficiency. It was the accumulation of countless years, freely given. Lin Moyu felt genuine gratitude. He returned the jade, saying, thanks to senior, I've memorized everything. The elder asked, smiling, which path suits you best? Lin Moyu replied, first method. Seek rare materials, let the domain refine them. It's safer, steady, and though slower, the materials can often be traded for a viable path. Second, seek domains not yet entered into chaos. Refine them, draw their essence into your own domain. Excellent results, but such domains are hidden, rare, nearly invisible, so it depends entirely on luck. Third, kill other domain wielders, refine their domains into your own. But aside from me, most who hold domains are full completions. Trying this now is practically suicide. Fourth, refine chaos chi directly, converting it into domain power, while nurturing cultivators inside my domain. As those within transcend, their growth rebounds, strengthening the domain. It is slow but steady, persistent. He exhaled. So for me now, the first and fourth methods in tandem are best. The third elder grinned. Good judgment. The first path is most practical and most chosen. But mark this, truly domain-altering materials are exceedingly rare. You may gain some through trade, but most are mediocre. The true treasures you must seek yourself, often in deadly lands. One example, a substance called Ghost Cloud Heart. Found only in the ancient wilds. It empowers domains greatly, but that land is savage beyond compare. Until you reach full completion, none dare enter. Ironically, after full completion, these treasures lose much effect. Ghost Cloud Heart's potency drops by tenfold. Such is the contradiction. The elder finished lightly. Opportunity and peril you must weigh yourself. I can only offer counsel. Lin Moyu nodded. I understand. Even if I go to the ancient wilds, I will not enter unprepared. The elder said no more. Lin Moyu was no fool. He had become domain lord in fewer than 20,000 years, with frightening mastery of formation besides. Counsel enough had been given. Too much would only irritate such a genius. The two continued their tea and conversation. The elder shared stories of his experiences through chaos. Lin Moyu learned much. 10 days passed like an instant. At last, their warship reached Lindong City. Further east than Guangdong, it lay closest of all to the eastern extreme. Before it spread avoid the junction of chaos and the ancient wilds. The frontier of realms. This space was called Desolation Scar. Why the name none knew. The term had existed since ancient ages, carried unchanged through eras. Crossing the Desolation Scar was peril beyond measure. Only full completion could cross safely. Even chaos greater completion might fall within. And Lindong City was stationed here, facing the scar, the first line. Hidden always within seams of space, unseen unless revealed. As Lin Moyu stepped out and beheld it, his soul shuddered. The aura struck him like a tempest. He whispered unconsciously. Desolation Scar, 4348, 4348. Chapter 4348, A City Within the Formation. Lin Moyu's reaction of slight shock did not surprise the third elder in the least. He stood beside Lin Moyu, gazing together with him at the vast Desolation Scar. Everyone seeing the scar for the first time will always feel shaken. Do you know why, little friend? Lin Moyu shook his head. He had seen quite a lot in his life, strange and wondrous, but nothing so far had truly shaken his heart to its core like this. The beast abyss had some resemblance in form to the scar, but when he first saw the beast abyss, it had not struck his soul the way this sight now did. This was not mere visual impact. The scar's presence brought a chill to the deepest layers of his soul. Lin Moyu felt as if the Desolation Scar contained a power so terrifying that it went beyond comprehension, a force as mysterious and supreme as the Tao itself. Even the Supremes could not compare. The elder explained, long ago, none know when the legend began, but Chaos bore a saying, the scar is Chaos's wound. And we are children of Chaos. Chaos is father and mother. To see our parent bleeding fills us with dread and sorrow. That is why the heart shakes. Lin Moyu smiled bitterly. A legend far-fetched. Even lies should at least sound plausible. The third elder also chuckled. Indeed, I never believed in that story either. But it has passed through ages nonetheless. Take it as a tale, not as truth. Still, if you gain the chance, I recommend entering the scar once. It is considered the front station to the ancient wilderness. The scar is infused with ancient wilderness power. Many, before venturing into that dread land, first immerse themselves here to acclimate. Lin Moyu nodded. My thanks, senior. I understand. They stepped from the warship into Lindong City. Compared to Guangdong World, it was tiny. It was purely a military stronghold, with an alliance garrison stationed within. To the outside, the Central Domain God Alliance was just a ruling council of tribes. But listening to the elder's description, it was clear the alliance was truly an army, protecting the Central Domain. The alliance generally ignored the affairs of individual races. Only at war did they activate, releasing orders, commanding all. Then the alliance's authority shone in total. Every tribe must obey. Disobedience meant destruction. The third elder was clearly a man well known here. He led Lin Moyu freely through their passage unhindered. Formations riddled the entire city. Every few steps, detection arrays swept across them. Nothing, no movement, escaped observation. After all, battles between cultivators were not only righteous head-on clashes. Shadows, poisons, assassinations, all these were weapons too. Chaos teemed with endless tribes, some with uncanny powers. Without such monitoring, infiltration and sabotage were too easy. Lindong City's defenses were the strictest Lin Moyu had ever seen. Even he could not guarantee sneaking through silently. At last, they reached the city's central square. Lin Moyu realized he still hadn't seen the cross-domain grand formation. The elder asked, little friend, do you see it? Lin Moyu swept his gaze across. Isn't this very place? Oh, the third elder chuckled. Then please, elaborate. After 10 days of travel and talk, Lin Moyu had grown familiar enough with the elder to know the man was simply testing him. So he offered a calm smile. You are testing me, senior. The elder remained silent, merely nodding for him to continue. The cross-domain grand array was created by a supreme. Even if not laid personally, it was at least designed by one. All the world knows it is a colossal teleportation network, capable of spanning the scar and reaching the eastern extreme. But in truth, it is more. It is not only a transport formation, but a superstructure of multiple formations combined, hiding, monitoring, defending, and indeed, attacking. This entire city of Lindong, it does not host the array. It is inside it. That is why I said the entire city is the array. The third elder gazed with faintly glowing eyes, his satisfaction written upon his face. Correct. It is not the grand array inside Lindong City, it is Lindong City that exists within the array. Before you depart, I must emphasize once more, in the eastern extreme, safety first. If the task proves impossible, abandon it. Do not risk yourself. The central domain cannot easily produce a formation master like you. Your life is worth too much. Then he produced a treasure. This, borrow it for safety. If you succeed, return it. In his hand was a fine needle, blue tip glowing, hair thin yet finger long. Lin Moyu's heart trembled, a weapon of real danger. This is called the soul-severing needle, a high-grade chaos treasure. Its advantage is simple, requires no owner's bond, no dependence on cultivation base. Whether in your hand or mine, its effect remains equal. It can slay chaos greater completion, and even wound full completion. But beware, it can only be used once per day. Lin Moyu understood well what he held. Most treasures required blood bond, and scaled their strength to the wielder. But the needle an exception. Needing no bond, yet wielding its entire might equally in anyone's hands. That made it unique, extremely rare, and extremely precious. Its power, enough to heavily wound full completion itself. This was not something one would lend lightly. For the elder to place it in his hands showed their true faith in him. Lin Moyu carefully accepted it, engraving a soul mark not for ownership, only to wield. He bowed. I shall do all in my power. The elder continued, the eastern extreme's node has vanished. Thus, your transmission may not place you directly at it. Possibly near, possibly far. There is no certainty, it will fall upon you to find it. Remember safety above all. Lin Moyu asked, according to the tests you gave me, the array should be hidden within spatial seams, yes? The elder nodded solemnly. Indeed, but hidden deeply, not easy to locate. I will try my best, Lin Moyu said. May luck be with me. The elder's voice turned grim. One more lesson, beware everyone. Not only the eastern extremes people, even some of the central domains. In chaos, apart from yourself, trust no one. Lin Moyu inclined his head. I understand. In truth, he had always lived by that creed. Especially since leaving the small world, he trusted none save himself. Finished with his reminders, the third elder began feeding vast amounts of chaos gold into the core. The grand teleportation activated, humming with massive power. Such arrays avoided drawing on surrounding chaos energy so as to hide their presence. Instead, they consumed chaos gold as primary fuel. Every crossing cost 1 million. Enough for both ways. Not truly expensive, most chaos greater completions could pay. And far cheaper than trying to risk flying across the desolation scar. With a flash of light, the cross-domain teleport roared, carrying Lin Moyu into the unknown. 4349, 4349. Chapter 4349, First Step into the Eastern Extreme, Searching for the Grand Array. The cross-domain Grand Array began operating. It moved in silence, concealed as ever, refusing any trace of its existence. For endless ages, countless cultivators from the eastern extreme had sought its location. They knew it must be bound to Lindong City, but none could ever find where Lindong City itself lay. This was one of the Central Domain God Alliance's most carefully kept secrets. Even so, it was not purely secrecy alone. The array itself had unparalleled concealment. This both preserved it and now made Lin Moyu's task of locating it infinitely harder. But Lin Moyu already had his own method in mind. Moments later, enough energy accumulated. A whirlpool of space spiraled down, transforming into a radiant spatial channel. The third elder said, "Go now, and in all things, guard your safety." Lin Moyu nodded firmly. "Wait for my good news." He strode into the gateway. At once, a force like heaven tore down on his body. He felt himself stretched thin, his soul pulled through layer upon layer of folded dimensions, rushing forward at inconceivable speed. This transmission was far more violent than any he had experienced. The force of space threatened to tear him into rags. He realized, to endure this passage, one needed at least chaos lesser completion. Any weaker, for example, like the former Kunlun Emperor, would be annihilated instantly. Even a body as tough as Little Pung's, a true chaos beast of might not withstand it. This was a formation forged by Supremes. It drew directly on chaos rules. Its speed was godlike, but so too its backlash. After fully half a day, he adapted to the state. The acceleration plateaued, reaching its absolute peak. It was a peculiar sensation. He had become one with chaos itself. The chaotic chi around him shimmered with infinite rules, infinite Taos. It was the very mother of all laws. And as the array drew power, it stripped away all else, leaving radiant, singular space rules. Not enlarged, transformed. Yes, the chaotic chi's boundless laws could interchange. I understand. The laws within chaos can be converted into one another. Each wisp of chaotic chi contained endless fundamental Tao. The power to birth domains, attributes, even living beings under certain forces. And it could be bent, forced, made subordinate to one rule. Any power desired. A cultivator, by using his own Tao as guide, drew upon chaotic chi, transmuting its infinite rules into one thread, the force of his Tao. This realization sparked fire inside him. If I used my great Tao annihilation palm, the strike that fuses myriad laws, and I directly refined the infinite laws of chaos itself, what would happen? A mad urge took him. But just then, the moment ended. All the rules of space fell away. The transmission cut, and he snapped back into normal state. In that fleeting insight, over 10 days had passed. And he arrived in the eastern extreme. It was still chaos, but different. The chi here was rough, violent, compared to the balanced, stable chi of the central domain. A land that not a temperament. One raised here would become restless, irritable. No wonder their cultivators are given so easily to fury. A flaw of their environment. He frowned. All chaos is chaos, but its nature changes by region. Is that the shadow of the scar? Yes. The 4 extremes and 3 domains were distinguished by the desolation scar. Its influence on chaotic chi could not be escaped. Lin Moyu did not test his insight immediately. First, he surveyed. The void of the eastern extreme looked the same save for that different chaos chi. He activated the undead eyes. No signs of life. He began deploying runes, building detection arrays. Together, arrays and undead eyes confirmed, no pursuers. He sighed slowly. Here, as a central domainer in enemy land, danger could come at any time. He dared not risk sloppiness. Only then did he begin searching for the hidden array. He did not know his exact coordinates. One thing only was certain: he could not be too far from the scar's reach. But no trace here, no aura, no vision of it meant he must be more than a billion li away. And in chaos, there was no fixed direction. Which way to fly? How to find the scar? He remembered the third elder's words. The cross-domain array was hidden within the scar's radiation zone because only there could it cloak itself better. So the scar was his star. Find it, find the array. Lin Moyu pulled out the cause-seeking ring. Effect without cause. No cause pursued, only the result sought. This was Lin Moyu's gamble, to use pure causality to trace the array. Everything in existence was bound by cause and effect. Nothing escaped its avenue, the very few exceptions. In small worlds, or sealed domains, tricks could avert it. But here, in chaos, not even Supremes, even Tao itself used causality as its edge. Causality was invincible, and now his weapon. It broke him. Boom, his body shattered. Causality's backlash ripped him apart. Even with all his strength, his request was too grand. He had asked the ring to locate a thing bound to Supremes. The backlash scoured both soul and flesh. And he was ripped apart. Purple light flickered. He was reborn, but the backlash wasn't complete. Less than half a breath later he was destroyed again. And reborn again. This continued. 10 deaths. 10 rebirths. At last the backlash released him. The ring had completed the fruit. Now, if he flew in any chosen direction, it would lead him inevitably to the grand array. A desperate method. A simple one. Lin Moyu exhaled softly. Worthy indeed of being a chaos extreme treasure. My current control is too little, but paired with rebirth, barely usable. A daring thought gleamed in him. If I had enough rebirths, could I even kill full completions? Yes. The backlash of causality might even fell the me if one could endure enough deaths. But against a supreme, foolishness. Even 10 million rebirths would never suffice. Still, he was satisfied. He put away the cause-seeking ring. Then released little Peng. Let's be off. He gestured randomly. Any direction was enough. By cause and effect would find what he sought. Little Peng blinked in confusion. Father, are we really in the eastern extreme now? 4350. 4350. Chapter 4350, The Putrid Corpse Grubs. Little Peng's bloodline was ancient and powerful, and his soul perception equally sharp. He immediately noticed the difference. Lin Moyu chuckled. How did you know we've reached the eastern extreme? Little Peng had been sleeping in the storage space this whole time, unaware of what transpired outside. Little Peng replied, the east burns hot, the west is shadow and yin. The north is cold, the south damp. Above lies purity, below rot and murk. The middle stands balanced. My bloodline's memory records the distinctions of the chaos 4 extremes and 3 domains. The gifts of an ancient bloodline. Little Peng's understanding of chaos far outstripped that of ordinary cultivators. It was knowledge accumulated and passed down across countless generations, enviable, but not replicable. He went on, explaining the natures of chaos regions. The eastern extremes chaotic chi bore heat. Beasts and cultivators here had tempers prone to anger, but their spells and attacks were sharper and more ferocious. The southern extreme was sweltering wet. Beings there were treacherous and strange. Their sorceries equally bizarre. The western extreme was shadow and chill, its creatures excelling in soul arts. The northern extreme was true ice. Its natives rare in speech, reluctant to lift hand. But once they did, it was until death unceasing. The upper domain's chaotic chi was the purest, with clear laws, making cultivation much easier. The lower domain's chaotic chi was most turbid. Cultivation near impossible, yet those that rose there were strongest at their level. And the central domain sat balanced, its chi neutral, leaning neither way. Lin Moyu mused deeply. Yes, this division of chaos surely linked to the desolation scar. Perhaps its root was deep within the ancient wilderness. But thoughts only for ancient wilderness was not yet within his reach. He asked, does your bloodline record anything about the ancient wilderness? Little Peng frowned, searching his inner memories, before replying. Not much. Our ancestors entered ancient wilderness often, seeking a way to break the Supreme's curse upon us. But the end was poor. Either they found not, or they perished within. Since the curse was laid upon us by Supreme, the place most harmed was indeed the ancient wilderness. Lin Moyu pressed, do you know what dangers are specifically within? Little Peng shook his head. No, the memory only warns before full completion, do not enter. A bitter answer. The worst danger was danger unknown. It meant all who had fallen in ancient wilderness died without leaving even a scrap of their bloodline memory. To erase even bloodline, meant either too swift a death or that the bloodline itself was severed. Either way the mark of terror supreme. As they spoke, Little Peng's regard for Lin Moyu showed the young beast now truly treated him as father, willing to share all inherited lore with him. Days passed, then weeks, then dozens of days of flight. Yet nothing revealed itself. Not beast, not man, not cultivator. Chaos voids stretched endless. At last, Little Peng asked uncertainly. Father, are we sure the direction is right? Lin Moyu smiled. Should be. Keep on. Chaos is infinite. We've flown nothing yet. Crossing the scar itself takes more than 10,000 years. A few dozen days is dust. Convinced, Little Peng shook his wings and kept on. In meantime, Lin Moyu produced a purple gold fruit. Little Peng consumed one gratefully. Lin Moyu also ate one. Just as he guessed, the fruits roused potential, channeling it to strengthen bloodline. Yes, they were treasures indeed. Yet compared to the chaos fruit, they were nothing. He thought, if one day he needed chaos gold, selling just one chaos fruit could fetch oceans of wealth. But he would never sell. A thing so strange must remain hidden. Else, death would soon follow. Then, Little Peng stiffened. Father, someone ahead. At that moment, Lin Moyu's undead eyes also caught the sign's flickering soul flames. More than one, not people, Lin Moyu murmured. Little Peng sniffed hard. His eyes narrowed in disgust as his blood memory confirmed. It's them. Who? Lin Moyu asked. The putrid corpse grubs. They live in all 4 extremes. They reek of rot. Everyone detests them. Lin Moyu blinked. Rotten stench. Before he understood, Little Peng suddenly cried. Father, seal your soul, quickly. But just a breath too late. Lin Moyu felt a stench at the soul level, an odor not of nostrils but of spirit itself. His mind swam. He nearly fainted outright. With a snap, He furiously sealed his soul. Yet still the stench poured through, invasive, unyielding. Lin Moyu snorted in frustration. What filth is this? Little Peng answered grimly. They are worms born of chaos. Unspeakably foul, their miasma clings to souls. Smelling too much, a soul itself begins to stink. And then comprehending chaos laws becomes near impossible. No wonder, Lin Moyu muttered. Everyone hates them. Little Peng nodded. Yes, they are scourge. Reviled across chaos. But extermination? Impossible. They breed endlessly. Worse, they are born with spatial traversal. Killing them all is impossible. Their eggs hide silently within beasts, or within layers of space. Invisible, untraceable. Their parasitism is strange. The host feels nothing, not even keen souls notice. Until the day the young hatch, then instantly tear through space to flee. That is when the host learns it was parasitized. Too late. Lin Moyu inhaled sharply. Indeed, such creatures could not be eradicated. Chaos gives every life a way to live. Indeed, to exist is to be justified. Little Peng's tone turned philosophical, before grinning awkwardly. Not my words, my ancestors. Don't blame me. Lin Moyu focused upon the soul flames ahead. They burned not just light, but with faint chaos runes embedded. Which meant they bore unique abilities. So he asked, beyond parasitism and space shifting, what else? Little Peng thought, then said grimly. They can drink blood. Blood drain. The phrase chilled, he knew it was figurative. Little Peng clarified, yes, they can literally drink blood. But deeper meaning. They draw out the essence source of items, treasures, materials, even formations. Anything they have sucked becomes useless husk. That's their foulest gift. Lin Moyu froze. A thought struck. Could it be that the trouble with the cross-domain array was caused by them? The possibility hung heavy in air. 4351. 4351. Chapter 4351, The Foulest Undead. As Lin Moyu and Little Peng drew closer to the swarm of putrid corpse grubs, even with their souls sealed, the stench still seeped through, rank waves pressing against them. Little Peng gagged and wailed loudly, stinks. Stinks. These filthy, reeking corpse grubs, I'll devour you all. Then he froze suddenly, tail twitching, and corrected himself in a panic. Pa. Pa, I won't eat you, you're too disgusting to eat at all. Lin Moyu laughed silently. Little Peng had a habit of blurting that he would eat anything, but not everything could be a meal. He focused his attention forward. Finally, he laid eyes on the true forms of the putrid corpse grubs. They were not only smelly. They were grotesque. Each like a stiffened corpse floating in the void. When they felt Lin Moyu and Little Peng's aura, they lifted their heads. And there it was, faces half human, half insect. Chilling to behold. Thankfully, their strength did not match their appearance. Most were only half-step Chaos Cultivator level. A minority were Chaos Lesser Completion. In all, several thousand. A swarm like this enough to make most Chaos Lesser Completion cultivators turn and flee in terror. Putrid corpse grubs might be weak alone. But in numbers, they became a sea of rot. Only a Chaos Greater Completion could casually annihilate them. But Lin Moyu was nothing like most. With a flicker of thought, millions of undead thralls surged out. The tide crushed forward at thousands of times the pests' numbers. The grubs collapsed instantly. Their power on direct clash was laughable. Half-step chaos grubs were vaporized in the first strike. The survivors churned against the undead horde. But their fangs and claws barely bit. The undead lost some but immediately revived the next second. The swarm was ground down in moments, their resistance hopeless against an army that would not die. Undead thralls rarely encountered foes like these. Usually they were fodder against overwhelming enemies, sacrificing endlessly. But here, their battle was semi-effortless, a rare luxury. And they reveled. Wave after wave of soul fire and bone tore into the grubs, drowning them under relentless killing. 10 minutes. And the swarm broke. The void trembled. Space warped. Gateways blinked open. Little Peng shouted. They're escaping. Yes, the putrid corpse grubs. Innate gift. Space traversal. Their last refuge. But Lin Moyu was ready. He activated the formation he had prepared. Ripples pulsed out. The void hushed. Distortion stopped. Yet still their own portals opened. The formation's grip could not stop them. One by one, the survivors dived into the rifts and vanished into nothingness. They're unaffected by ordinary space locks, Little Peng explained between coughs. That's their innate talent. Lin Moyu frowned slightly. So strong a spatial affinity. So strong, Little Peng sighed. Especially once they evolve to full completion. Killing them becomes nearly impossible. They slip through any blockade. Lin Moyu nodded slightly. Indeed. Fortunately, their strength was rock bottom. In equal realms, most could kill them easily with a leap between ranks. He mused. Every creature bears strengths and flaws. Likely, their evolution is hard. A vast race, many in number, but no true supreme existences among them. Little Peng shrugged. Unsure. Nothing in my bloodline memory beyond what I said. Lin Moyu shifted then. Enough. Time to ask them about the cross-domain Grand Array. Little Peng blinked. Huh, ask them. How? Dead. Fled. Most reduced to scraps. Hardly an audience. But Lin Moyu's gaze sharpened. His undead swarmed back, dragging twisted fragments of grotesque flesh that still reeked unbearably. Little Peng sealed his spirit tight in instant panic. Father, why keep these? Lin Moyu grinned. Infinite summon. A surge of the undying fire. The rotting meat shuddered, dark flames consumed, remolded. And then, even more horrible than before, the grubs resurrected. Reborn as undead spawn. The stench multiplied tenfold. The void itself curdled. Just seconds. The grubs that had crumbled moments ago now stood, souls reknit, bodies reforged. They flopped before Lin Moyu. Nearly identical to before, except their heads dipped slightly lower this time. Lin Moyu waved tiredly. Get back. Too stinking. The undead grubs scuttled back 10,000 miles at once. The haze lessened. They had little intellect. They could not speak. They could only communicate through soul contact. Lin Moyu groaned, forced to open his flames of spirit, and leaned into the filthiest interrogation of his life. Each brush of thought assaulted him with rancid waves. He nearly retched from the soul-rot odor. But answers came. They had gathered here for a grand formation. One they stumbled upon by chance. A magnificent one, overflowing with mountains of materials. The treasures lured them, drove them mad. So they searched, for over 1,000 years. Yet never found it. The formation's position was elusive. Always shifting. And gradually, they pieced together a conclusion. Another chaos-born creature had moved it. One with space mastery equal to their own. Thus no matter how long they hunted, they came back empty. Beyond that, they knew little. Talents, their nature, meaningless to them, instinct only. They did not even hold memories of their bloodline. Lin Moyu ended it there. With a flick of his hand, the foulest undead swelled and exploded. Ash fell. The stench dispersed. Little Peng exhaled in relief. Finally, not stinking anymore. Lin Moyu relayed the information calmly. They were chasing a giant formation. Said it was taken by another chaos life, one attuned to space. They don't lie, instinct cannot lie. So whatever carried it off is real. Whether it's the cross-domain Grand Array or not, we must assume it is. Little Peng froze, then combed his bloodline memory hard. At last, a tremor shivered through his feathers. His eyes went sharp. Yes, there is one race ridden. An ancient chaos beast too. With space abilities this extreme. They are called, the Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons. 4352, 4352. Chapter 4352, The Chaotic Void-Breaking Rune. The Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons were chaos-born beings that lived within the eastern extreme of chaos. They possessed a certain measure of intellect, not as sharp as most civilized tribes, but enough to think and form their own ideas. Chaos was fair in its own way. The lack of wisdom was balanced by tremendous natural ability. They were born powerful. From the instant of birth, they had already achieved chaos transformation, fully adapted to the environment. By adulthood, more than 80% could reach chaos realm lesser completion. And upon reaching that stage, they awakened their inborn talents. Much like the putrid corpse grubs, their talent was tied to space. They could step freely across the void, passing into spatial seams at will. Many treasures that had fallen into spatial seams ended up being discovered by them. Aside from space gifts, the Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons possessed another formidable ability, the power to command Eastern Extreme Flame. The chaotic chi in the Eastern Extreme carried within it intense fire laws, and many native beings wielded such force. But the Dragon Pythons, combining it with their innate space traversal, could refine materials or even launch attacks across layers of space. Some materials could not be touched directly, for they would counterattack. But with this gift, the Dragon Pythons could bypass all danger, refining from afar. Their strength could pierce endless layers of space, erupting silently, lethally. Listening to Little Peng describe them, Lin Moyu could only sigh. Chaos birthed all manner of beings, countless and strange. Creatures appeared with powers one could never predict. By this account, Lin Moyu muttered, the cross-domain Grand Array could indeed be tied to the eastern extreme dragon pythons. Little Peng shook his head, his bloodline memory held no answer to that. Lin Moyu could not judge yet, but one certainty remained. His direction was not wrong. If the array's disappearance was connected to the dragon pythons, then trouble loomed. For they were unlike the putrid corpse grubs. Dragon pythons possessed immense combat strength. With spatial talents added, they could both fight and flee with ease. Even if he unleashed his countless undead, they might be hard to pin down. If it truly is them, I'll need a plan. Lin Moyu considered soberly. He possessed 4 external forces. The Ice Jade Meditation Cushion, the Cause-Seeking Ring, the Catastrophic Scepter, and his mastery of formations. The cushion was ruled out first. He could not fully control it. The Cause-Seeking Ring was too savage, injuring both user and enemy. Against 1 or 2 strong foes, it was fine. Against an entire tribe, impossible unless he had infinite rebirths to spare. He would not waste his limited rebirths on them. The Catastrophic Scepter, he could wield it, but it was his greatest trump card. To rely on it again and again would only weaken him in the long term. So the best choice was formations. With formations, I can subdue their space-born gifts. Break their roots, then my undead horde can sweep them. He resolved his course. Formation would be his counter. He began to work. If Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons were built on space, then his goal was to tear that apart. He envisioned a formation to cover all space, to blanket across every seam, every inch of dimensional layer with no gaps for slipping through. One rune after another burned into existence, chaos runes, drawn, studied, and modified. The spatial runes were fewer in number, so he refined them all, pushing their strength to new horizons. Every rune master had their own style. Chaos runes had no fixed model. Right or wrong did not exist. Only effectiveness mattered, useful, practical, powerful. Through cycles of reforging, he found the rune he needed. A new divine rune, its shape a giant claw, stretching through all spaces, piercing into the deepest currents of spatial turbulence. It could channel the very power of the spatial chaos tides, forcing all the space within tens of thousands of miles into chaos. It did not stabilize space, it made it unstable. Violent, swirling oceans of vortices. He named it the Chaotic Void-Breaking Rune. With it as cornerstone, Lin Moyu sketched the Great Web. A new formation, seated with 100,000 chaotic void-breaking runes. Encompassing a battlefield that stretched tens of millions of miles. In the scale of chaos itself not vast, but more than enough for a war. And when combined with his wings of chaos, the turbulence would amplify further. A realm of absolute disorder where no spatial power could cross. Lin Moyu whispered coldly, I do not believe even dragon pythons can traverse such chaos freely. The array, forged, condensed into a formation disk at his palm. Perfect, to deploy at need. If even this cannot bind them. Little Peng flying ahead tirelessly blurted out, then what? Then I'll think of another way, Lin Moyu said casually. Little Peng nearly spat blood in exasperation. Father, you mean you don't even know if this plan will work? Lin Moyu grinned, can't say I don't. If their talent is like the putrid corpse grubs, this formation should be enough to break them. But if they have chaos greater completions among them? Difficult to say. He was confident in his formation. But he knew, greater completions varied widely. Some could be weak, he had fought at that level before. And some, like Peng Qi, were so strong that they could crush even most peers at that step. So only combat would reveal the truth. More days passed in flight. Then Lin Moyu's undead eyes caught it, flickering soul flames. Hide your aura, he said sharply. He cloaked his own instantly. Little Peng obeyed, though nervous. Father, I sense nothing. The void ahead was blank. No signs save chaos chi itself. If beings hid, even so, Little Peng was confident in his bloodline perception. He should have felt them. But Lin Moyu said calmly, they are not in this layer of space. Little Peng almost asked, if not here, how do you know? But he bit his tongue. He was learning, best not to question. Lin Moyu's undead sight could not pierce into full dimensions. Yet what he saw was strange nonetheless. The flame gleams did not belong to this space, but their soul presence leaked across, into every layer. Their spirits stretched like a giant hand, grasping multiple spaces, slipping at will between. His lips tightened. This was indeed something formidable. He had little Peng halt. He calmly began sketching another chaotic void-breaking rune. 4353, 4353. Chapter 4353, The Worst Possible Outcome. The chaotic void-breaking rune's range could reach tens of thousands of li, but Lin Moyu restricted it to a radius of 10,000. At this moment, he was more than 100,000 li away from those flickering soul flames. The soul flames were moving in a fixed direction directly aligned with him and little Peng. The rune pulsed, space began to convulse violently. The first layer of space quivered as if it were an ocean wave, rolling back in chaos. Under Lin Moyu's guiding hand, the 10,000 li region of space writhed and churned, exposing anything hidden within. This was not his first time doing this. He had done something similar not long ago within the Central Domain God Alliance's trials. Little Peng blinked, then sniffed, saying, "Father, there's nothing here." "I know," Lin Moyu answered casually. He knew nothing physical lingered here. What he sought was not things, but traces of aura. From the putrid corpse grubs he had already heard, something had dragged an immense array away. Lin Moyu suspected this could be the cross-domain Grand Array. But could such a massive construct really be dragged and carried? Doubtful, yet in chaos, anything was possible. If it had been dragged along, it must have left vestiges of aura behind concealed deep within spatial seams. Casting his rune shattered all that hiding space. If traces remained, he would unearth them. Lin Moyu had once sensed the aura of the Grand Array before. He closed his eyes, channels of soul stretched outward. Moments ticked, then yes, a thread of chi signature, faint but undeniable. His eyes snapped open. It's the cross-domain Grand Array. But, its aura is so weak. This wasn't right. Even if partially hidden, the aura of such a construct should not be so diminished. No matter. First I'll chase, then I'll see. Now was not the time to ponder. It was time to move. He motioned to little Peng, who beat his wings and surged forward. Their quarry wasn't moving quickly. Little Peng soon overtook them. Hidden in deep spatial layers, the targets had not emerged. But Lin Moyu already counted them. 59 soul flames. This meant 59 living beings. Among them 1 Chaos Realm Greater Completion, 20 Chaos Lesser Completion, and 28 Half-Step Chaos. Not a huge number, but that Greater Completion, that was trouble. With cool focus, Lin Moyu lifted the formation disc he had forged. The chaotic void ceiling formation burst wide, flooding the void with shattering light. Tens of thousands of void-breaking runes interlinked, magnifying their potency. The air vibrated, space convulsed, his wings of chaos snapped wide, fanning storms of lawless energy. Lights gathered, bursting into sprites that tugged rule after rule, twisting the void into total slurry. The neatly ordered planes of space collapsed into a wild stew of turbulence. At last, the hidden flames could no longer cloak themselves. They emerged with guttural roars, half dragon calls and half python hisses. And there they were, Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons. Lin Moyu's pupils narrowed. His suspicion was true. And in their midst they carried the remains of a Grand Array, broken and incomplete. His heart sank. A fragment of the cross-domain Grand Array. The worst outcome. The Grand Array of the Eastern Extreme had indeed been riven apart. Perhaps even dismantled. It was no longer whole. If so, it was beyond repair. To reforge one anew was impossible. Even he, master as he was, could not remake a Supreme's work. Yet his face grew resolute. One step at a time. First I take back the fragment. The dragon pythons erupted in fury. Forced out from their deep layers, the leading beast, a greater completion, roared, its aura shaking the void. Flame surged from its maw, a dragon python of 10,000 li length, a terror of pure chaos fire. This, to them, was mere pest control. Lin Moyu was only a chaos lesser completion, an ant. His defiance was insult unforgivable. Lin Moyu's finger gleamed with pale light. Into his hand slipped the slim, deadly form of the soul-severing needle. Go! The needle vanished without a whisper, gone into void. Next instant the roaring dragon python froze mid-breath. Its great furnace of fire choked silent. Its titanic body shrank rapidly, collapsing down into a mere 10,000-meter form, eyes glazed empty, soul obliterated. A greater completion slain in an instant. The battlefield fell silent. Lin Moyu's hand remained steady, but his heart pounded once. The soul-severing needle, what a weapon! He had not even caught how it killed. Only that one breath it was there. Then the dragon python's soul simply ended. Its body intact. Its death, it had never even known how it happened. The needle returned to his hand, dimmed, its glow spent, demanding a full day before next use. But the largest threat was gone. That left only 58 lesser foes. They hesitated, shocked. Their leader, strongest among them, killed like paper. Trepidation filled them. Lin Moyu wasted no pause. His undead hosts, millions strong, surged like black tide, surrounding, pressing close like a sea of death. Ordinarily, the dragon pythons wouldn't fear. Their spatial drifting would render any encirclement useless. But not today. The space here was chaos broken deliberately by Lin Moyu's array and wings. No traversal possible. Once their vital gift became coffin. The undead smothered the battlefield, shrieking bone fire. The dragon pythons fought mightily. The lesser completion roared with force 100 times greater than putrid grubs. Their spells tore ranks of undead apart. Dozens of thousands banished in heartbeats. Yes, the gap between half-step and lesser completion was stark. But their foes were endless. For every undead slain, 10 more surged, reborn instantly. The half-step dragon pythons fell swiftly, devoured by the tide, screaming. The lesser completion elites clustered, drawing tight, defending themselves fiercely. Encircled, refusing to fall. And then, Lin Moyu swept his hand. Flames rose. The undying fire, infinite summon, the great corpse of the greater completion python burned. It had not been damaged in body only, its soul destroyed. Newly dead, its resurrection would be swift. Hours passed not. The body stirred, flames refilled with dark soul. And it rose again, reborn as an undead servant. Kill them. Lin Moyu's command rang clear. Obedient, the once proud leader turned upon his own kin. The dragon pythons broke in confusion. Their greatest pillar, their commander returning as a dead thrall, tearing into them mercilessly. Their roars echoed in despair. One by one they perished, the void thick with the bitter cries of beasts. For Lin Moyu, this battle was no true trial. Unlike his other wars, this was a skirmish. He had ways unending to destroy these creatures. The undying fire stormed. One by one, fallen dragon pythons rose again, pressed into his host. And with calm hand he drew forth a formation disc, weaving intent around the shattered fragment of the cross-domain grand array. He would not let this piece remain. At least this much he could claim. 4354. 4354. Chapter 4354, The Calculations of the Supremes. The cross-domain grand array was extremely powerful, an ordinary formation disk simply couldn't take it in. Lin Moyu could only try bit by bit, relying on his deep knowledge of formations, to seek a way to collect the array. While he worked, Lin Moyu observed the array closely. The array was gravely damaged. The cross-domain grand array was not just a rune array, it was constructed from a vast quantity of precious materials. This particular segment was the same, but now these materials were all partially ruined. Their essence was largely lost, and some components had become complete waste. Lin Moyu looked at the eastern extreme dragon python chieftain. Tell me, how did your clan discover this array? The greater completion chieftain, now a reborn underling, lay before Lin Moyu, utterly submissive, all his previous pride gone. Facing Lin Moyu's questioning, he held nothing back. His name was Dong Zan, one of the minor chieftains of the eastern extreme dragon pythons. When Lin Moyu first heard the term, tribe, he was confused, but after Dong Zan explained, he understood the structure of the eastern extreme dragon python clans. There were 8 full completion elders among the dragon pythons, each at the heart of a major tribe, with names representing Heaven, Earth, Black, Yellow, Universe, Wilds, Grand, and Flood. Each major tribe was ruled by a full completion elder, and beneath each were many minor tribes. Each minor tribe, of which there were 28 per major tribe, was governed by a greater completion cultivator. Dong Zan belonged to the Zan, dragon python major tribe, the third minor tribe under that banner. In Zan, there were 12 greater completion cultivators like him. By Dong Zan's account, the eastern extreme dragon pythons were a vast group, perhaps not as strong as the Divine Phoenix clan, but still a colossal force, at least from Lin Moyu's point of view. Dong Zan recounted the events. The dragon pythons loved traveling through layered space, seeking treasures and materials hidden in seams, which they then absorbed and refined. This was their way to evolve. This time, they encountered an enormous formation, unseen in size before, but it appeared to have already suffered heavy damage and to be falling apart. The entire major tribe mobilized, hoping to bring the array back for themselves. Though the array was shattered, it still contained many materials for refinement. With all the materials, they could surely create at least 10 more greater completion level pythons. Under the lead of their chieftain, the full completion Zon Dragon Python Elder, they attacked the array. The array was powerful and their strikes entered the void, bypassing many of the defensive measures. Their attacks accelerated the array's collapse. It might have survived a little longer, but with the assault, in less than 100 years it was destroyed. At the instant of collapse, the array exploded in a burst so violent it tore through space. Many dragon pythons died at that moment, and even their great elder, the full completion Lord of Zon, was wounded. From that blast, the array fragmented into 5 pieces, and the great elder ordered all tribe members to search for those pieces while he recovered. Dong Zon San and his subordinates spent over 10,000 years tracking, finally finding a fragment, which happened to be the smallest of the 5. As they dragged the fragment away, they tried to refine and absorb its materials. The formation was so powerful that even they could not take it through space, so they could only crawl slowly through the seams until they encountered Lin Moyu. At this point, Lin Moyu was sure the array was the cross-domain Grand Array, which had been personally designed by a Supreme. The Grand Formation had been split into 2 major parts, one in the central domain, one in the eastern extreme. No ordinary being could harm something designed, if not laid, by a Supreme. Lin Moyu had seen the Grand Array with his own eyes, and knew it would take more than just the dragon pythons. Even all 8 full completion elders, even 800, would not be able to damage it. According to Dong Zon San, when the dragon pythons found the formation, it was already severely broken. They only nudged it further, causing it to break apart more quickly. Even then, it took a full century to accomplish. Moreover, the explosion injured their great elder and killed many among them. Therefore, Lin Moyu was certain that someone else was responsible for the original destruction, and there was only one possibility: a Supreme did it. Whether it was an Eastern Extreme Supreme, or a Supreme from elsewhere who infiltrated to sow discord between domains, he could not yet say. Either way, to Lin Moyu it was just business as usual for Supremes, always plotting, calculating, and meddling. But the cross-domain Grand Array had been expertly hidden. How could it have been found? Suddenly, Lin Moyu realized another possibility and muttered to himself, could it have been those 2? He thought of the green-robed and white-robed men, one of whom must be a central domain Supreme. If they'd destroyed the array on purpose, perhaps to set events in motion that would draw Lin Moyu here himself, it wasn't impossible. He couldn't help but be wary. Supremes were always many steps ahead. Without such caution, one could easily be sold out without ever realizing. Now, Lin Moyu had no choice. A promise was a promise, and he was already here. He had to think of a way to return. He could not afford to waste 1,000,000 years flying across the scar, not just because it was dangerous, but also because the time cost was intolerable. Search, then. As things stand, there seems to be no other way. Let's see what games are being played behind the scenes. Little Peng listened to these mutterings, unable to make sense of them. Lin Moyu turned to Dong Zon San, find a way to lure your tribesmen here. The reborn Dong Zon San obeyed, and Lin Moyu instructed him to bring just a handful at first, increasing the numbers gradually in the future. The dragon pythons had their methods for contacting each other. Dong Zon San used the Grand Array as bait, claiming he had found a fragment but couldn't move it alone, asking for help. Other greater completion chieftains were under orders to seek the array fragments and for their own motives, hoped to refine a little for themselves if the elders weren't watching. Having received word from Dong Zon San, they would surely come. Dragon pythons could traverse space, traveling quickly, and within a dozen days, more arrived. But what awaited them was Lin Moyu's soul-severing needle, and Dong Zon San's own claws. Lin Moyu had already set the void-breaking formation, boosted with his wings of chaos. Once any came close, there was no escape, not even a chance to send a message. Dong Zon San and his group, now under Lin Moyu's command, ruthlessly attacked their kin. Lin Moyu harvested the dragon pythons in waves, steadily augmenting the power at his command. At the same time, he finished refining a special formation disk and finally managed to collect the fragment of the cross-domain Grand Array. 4355, 4355. Chapter 4355, Ancestor, Wake Up. Lin Moyu's legion of undead reborn followers was growing rapidly. Among the Zon dragon python lineage, their great elder had once led 12 chaos greater completion level sub-chieftains, each with over 100 subordinates. Altogether, the entire Zon Dragon Python branch had about 1,500 members. The explosion of the cross-domain Grand Array killed over 300, so now there were about 1,200 left. The group led by Dong Zon San had suffered severe losses, leaving only a few dozen under his command. The rest were lured over in waves and subsequently became Lin Moyu's followers. In a little over a year, Lin Moyu's forces had gathered 9 Chaos Greater Completion level sub-chieftains like Dong Zon San, along with all their subordinates around 1,000 total. This force was formidable enough to be nearly invincible, at least against any non-full completion powerhouses. In this same period, Lin Moyu didn't travel elsewhere, he simply focused on amassing power. He knew that if he kept searching for other fragments of the cross-domain array, he would eventually run into the Zon Dragon Python ancestor of full completion powerhouse. Even if that ancestor was not the strongest among full completion beings, he was still far from Lin Moyu's ability to handle alone. However, with enough greater completion sub-chiefs at his disposal, if he was well prepared and wielded the soul-severing needle, there was a real possibility of success. The only problem with targeting a full completion being was that they possessed a domain, making them incapable of becoming undead followers. It was not that he couldn't, but that he shouldn't. Reviving someone with a domain would destabilize the rules of chaos and attract attention from the Tao itself. Still, for the sake of the cross-domain array, Lin Moyu would be forced to go up against a full completion being. 9 greater completion powerhouses, that's at least a 50% chance, he calculated inwardly. Add in the ancestor's injuries from the explosion another 10%. And if all 9 coordinate a sneak attack, yet another 10%. So it's a 70% chance. That's enough to risk it. There were still 3 greater completion sub-chiefs who hadn't appeared. Dong Zon San said they must have received word, but perhaps they'd found their own fragments of the array and didn't respond, wanting the benefits for themselves. If so, Lin Moyu simply excluded them from his plans. Next was to choose the right place to set up a trap for the Zon Dragon Python ancestor. The ancestor, having been severely injured by the cross-domain array's explosion, had not shown himself since. He was recuperating and someone knew the exact location. That someone was now one of Lin Moyu's undead followers. Lin Moyu's eyes shone. Since that's the case, I'll go and preside at your funeral personally. He set about arranging an upgraded formation. This time, he was not just creating a formation, he was enhancing it, making the void-breaking formation not just a trap but a weapon. Lin Moyu knew that with his current array-making ability, killing a full completion being with a formation alone was not realistic, but if he could disrupt and hinder the target, just a sliver of increased odds that would help. At the very least, he needed to block the ancestor's escape, therefore, improving the entrapment capabilities was essential. He devoted a full century to the new formation and poured all he'd learned from studying the cross-domain array into its structure. The cross-domain Grand Array, the ultimate usage of space crafted by a Supreme, gave Lin Moyu profound insights into the rules of chaos and formation mastery. This century was not just for plotting, it advanced his formation cultivation substantially. He realized that not even the Eastern Extreme Dragon Python's spatial gifts could compare to the level of understanding a Supreme demonstrated in their work. After 100 years, 4 new void-breaking formations were completed. The new arrays used the deepest currents of spatial chaos and, combined with the wings of chaos, shattered the fabric of space in a far more extreme way than before. Previously, the formations and wings would mix space into something like paste. Now, that paste was cut into countless fragments, each an isolated, chaotic void of its own. Lin Moyu believed that, unless one had powers akin to a Supreme, it would be impossible to escape such a trap by traversing space. Since the next enemy was a full completion powerhouse, Lin Moyu prepared with utmost caution. The improved formations also absorbed some offensive power, drawing chaotic turbulence through spatial fissures and using it for attacks. While not overwhelmingly destructive, the main goal was harassment and distraction. The wings of chaos allowed myriad sprites to manifest within the arrays, their curses and effects making things even messier inside the battlefield. Attacks of this level wouldn't truly threaten a full completion power, but they were meant to irritate and distract, further adding to the chaos of the battlefield and hampering any attempt at coordinated spatial escape. Once everything was ready, the Eastern Extreme Dragon Python led Lin Moyu across space to the ancestor's secret healing site. In chaos, very few locations were fixed, even the powerful lived semi-nomadically. The Zon Dragon Python ancestor possessed a treasure that could transform into a castle, small enough to fit in a fist, and concealed within the seams of space itself. Tracking down such a thing would be nearly impossible without guidance. But with an insider leading the way, Lin Moyu succeeded where others could not. Surviving to reach full completion in chaos was never easy, and this ancestor surely never imagined that his own kin, resurrected as an undead thrall, would bring an enemy straight to his hidden lair. When Lin Moyu finally saw the castle, its diminutive size astonished him. He realized he'd seen this kind of castle before within the Five Worlds domain. Its design was nearly identical to the Flower Fairy's castle. Its main purpose was concealment, a favorite trait among many chaos dwellers. Wherever the castle traveled, the ancestor traveled. Lin Moyu muttered, "Perfect, I can lay the groundwork right here." Wings of Chaos. The wings fanned out, and Lin Moyu activated the improved formation disc. Vast tracts of void descended into chaos. The wings sent out countless sprites that dove into every crevice of space. First, all within 10 million li was mixed and pulped, then it fragmented into a million independent pieces. At the height of this spatial disturbance, the castle could no longer maintain its shrunken state. It rapidly expanded to full scale, revealing its true form. "It really is just like the Flower Fairy's castle," Lin Moyu murmured. As the castle was restored to its full appearance, a powerful force flared upward from within. At that very moment, Lin Moyu triggered his command, and the many eastern extreme dragon pythons under his control shouted as one, "Ancestor, wake up!" 4356. 4356. Chapter 4356, Encirclement Hunt. Nearly 1,000 eastern extreme dragon pythons roared in unison. Their voices poured into the castle, and the aura inside surged violently as Zon dragon python began to awaken. Lin Moyu felt the ancestor's aura and judged, still not fully healed. My chances are even greater. Judging such injuries through aura when the enemy is still unaware is usually very accurate. As wave after wave of calls continued, the aura inside the castle grew ever more murderous. Deciding the time was right, Lin Moyu summoned vast numbers of undead thralls, launching them into a staged battle against the dragon pythons. On the surface, the clash looked fierce, a deadly struggle to the last. In truth, both sides were acting. It was all a performance for the ancestor. Finally, Zon dragon python completely awakened. With a furious roar, he shattered the void only to be met by an overwhelming, sky-filling onslaught of undead thralls. The castle's specialty was concealment, but its grade was only just above the lowest level. Under a saturated barrage from the undead, cracks quickly spidered across its surface. It wouldn't last long. A terrifying aura burst forth as a dragon python 1,000,000 meters long appeared, shaking the chaos. His might scattered the undead's attacks. His gaze, sharp as blades, swept the field. Thousands of undead exploded into dust at a glance. What's happening? He was seething with anger, his injuries not yet healed. This forced awakening had cost him at least 1,000 years of recovery. At once, a dragon python cried out, "Ancestor! The enemy is here, they've slaughtered many of us." The void was littered with dragon python corpses. Seeing it all, the ancestor's fury grew, chilling into a murderous intent, and locked straight onto Lin Moyu. He narrowed his giant dragon eyes. To him, Lin Moyu was just a chaos lesser completion and nothing. But how could one such as that force his clan to such a state? Were the 9 greater completion dragon pythons useless? No matter. What mattered was that he had awakened. How dare one ant interrupt his healing? Lin Moyu deserved to die. Die, he thundered, and with that, unleashed a strike from thin air at Lin Moyu. Unhurried, Lin Moyu activated his array's space around him, instantly blurred into a hurricane of chaos. The attack meant for Lin Moyu veered off course, reappearing thousands of li away in empty space, then vanishing entirely. The ancestor froze. At once, he sensed the shift. This space had been shredded into uncountable fragments, so wild even he could not traverse freely. If his spatial mastery was rendered useless, the same would be true for the other dragon pythons, their biggest edge lost. Their fighting strength was instantly more than halved. "So, you're a formation master. No wonder a mere lesser completion dares to provoke our tribe." Lin Moyu gave no answer, he simply produced the soul-severing needle. It flashed across his fingertips. The ancestor's expression changed dramatically. He felt a mortal threat and let out a shaking roar, his power tearing the void to pieces. He escaped into 10 separate independent spaces. But the soul-severing needle flashed through the torn void, entering the ancestor's secret domain. Fear filled the ancestor's eyes as he shrank his body and darted back into the castle for shelter. The needle flared outside the castle, then sunk in after him. A scream of utter agony echoed out, cracks spread faster and then with a deafening crash, the castle exploded apart. The ancestor reappeared, his aura shaky and wounded. Lin Moyu could see it. The ancestor's soul was severely damaged, and such an injury wouldn't heal in a million years. The needle reappeared at Lin Moyu's fingers, dimmed until it recovered after a day. The third elder's words were true. The soul-severing needle could instantly kill a chaos greater completion and grievously wound a full completion strong one. The ancestor was not the strongest full completion being, and his injuries had not healed. After this, he was in dire shape. With fear and rage in his eyes, the ancestor hissed, "You must die. Too bad you can't kill me." Lin Moyu snapped his fingers. A flurry of attacks exploded out. 9 dragon pythons at chaos greater completion struck at the ancestor. Moments ago, they had insinuated they'd protect him. Now, they unleashed their ultimate blows. The onslaught was so sudden, and the ancestor, focused entirely on Lin Moyu, was caught completely off guard. Normally, attacks of this level would do nothing to a full completion being. But now, wounded, unguarded, the ancestor was instantly overwhelmed. Screams rang out as the ancestor's mighty force threw back the first wave, yet another followed, denying him even a second's respite. Pressed from all sides, driven beyond endurance, the ancestor finally lashed out at his own kin, killing great numbers instantly. But those he killed returned instantly undead, fearless of death. The undead legion surged in, drowning the ancestor in a barrage of spells and blows. For now, damage or no damage, their legion could not be ignored. Lin Moyu's will issued a single word: sublimate. Once one enters the chaos realm, the powers of gathering strength and empowering soldiers fuse into a new origin spell, sublimation. Sublimation carried both effects, stronger than ever, and this was the first time Lin Moyu used it in true combat. Instantly, the undead thrall's auras soared, former half-step chaos beings now approached full chaos lesser completion. The dragon pythons, especially the 9 greater completions, likewise grew stronger. Not at the ancestor's level yet, but far stronger than before. Even Lin Moyu himself, his strength rocketed to the level of chaos greater completion. Wings of chaos thundered. Lin Moyu manipulated the arrays, carving a path to the ancestor. He stepped through in an instant, delivered by the formation right before the enemy. One palm of Tao annihilation. This palm contained refined chaos. All surrounding chaos chi was drawn into his strike. Though Lin Moyu hadn't devoted himself to that art, centuries of insight and his newfound surge of power made this strike supremely potent. The ancestor reacted, meeting palm for palm. But the wings of chaos, in concert with the void-breaking formation, sent his blow careening into the void, a total miss. Lin Moyu's palm landed square on his opponent's head. With a thunderous crack, dragon scales shattered, the ancestor reeled, and the other dragon pythons instantly pounced. 4357, 4357. Chapter 4357, A Wrong Choice. Wave after wave of attacks from the eastern extreme dragon pythons and the undead thralls once again submerged Zon dragon python, but out of all of them, only the 9 chaos greater completion dragon pythons truly made an impact. The rest barely scratched him. Even together, they couldn't break his defense. A dragon's roar thundered, space twisted, and suddenly, all attacks vanished as if into nothing. The chaotic void fell silent. A colossal domain phantom appeared. The ancestor had finally manifested his domain. There are strong and weak among full completion powerhouses. The strongest, like Molan, can reveal their domain phantoms at will and use domain power for battle. The weaker ones, fearing someone might target their domain directly, rarely risk exposing it since the domain is their foundation. Once damaged, it is almost impossible to repair. Zon Dragon Python was the latter. He'd forgotten he was facing only a chaos lesser completion foe, not an equal. He should have summoned his domain from the start. With his domain exposed, he locked the void, its force offsetting much of the wild energy from the void-breaking formation, restoring order to what had been chaos. Zon Dragon Python spat flames. In an instant, Lin Moyu was engulfed, incinerated to ash. He immediately followed up the moment of order with a direct attack. As a full completion power, his strike was not something Lin Moyu could withstand. Lin Moyu could have held out for a while. His domain was more than just a passive skill. It allowed him to spread all injuries throughout his trillion undead and domain space. But he suppressed that, opting to take the full force of the attack himself. Just as Zon Dragon Python was about to relax, a flash of purple appeared. Lin Moyu returned. Is that all you can do? Lin Moyu shook his head, taunting with a touch of contempt. Zon Dragon Python clenched his teeth. How are you not dead? Lin Moyu ignored the question. Actually, I was just waiting for your domain. As he spoke, his mind stirred. The 9 Chaos Greater Completion Dragon Pythons suddenly burst into flames and became blazing streaks, hurling themselves at the domain phantom. They burned their souls, unleashing every bit of strength, sacrificing themselves to break through the shackles of the domain's power. Zon Dragon Python's expression twisted in horror. He tried to dive into space and escape, but space turned turbulent again, and a peculiar force stunned his soul for a split second. The wings of chaos vibrated, the formation roared at full power, the hidden sprites attacked all at once, each with its own curse, useful or not, all bombarding Zon Dragon Python. Previously, those curses would have been useless, but now, they managed to daze him for a vital moment. That moment was all it took. The 9 Greater Completion Dragon Pythons, souls ablaze, empowered by Lin Moyu's sublimation spell, became more powerful than ever before. They hurled themselves at the domain phantom, punching through it to attack its true body hidden in some unknown place. A cataclysm of self-detonations rocked the domain phantom. The domain was not broken but was severely damaged, shattered, close to total collapse. After all, these were the self-destructions of greater completion beings, multiplied by Lin Moyu's magic, almost equaling the full-strength strike of a full completion powerhouse. All of this happened in moments. By the time Zon Dragon Python recovered, it was too late to stop anything. His domain was ruined, his wounds deeper than ever. His aura plummeted, he could barely muster a roar. Reading his aura, Lin Moyu judged that his strength was now fallen to that of a greater completion chaos being at best. But Lin Moyu remained cautious. Who knew what trump cards one who had lived so long might still have? Controlling his arrays, Lin Moyu opened a spatial passage with the wings of chaos, stepping out instantly to face Zon Dragon Python directly. Yi Dao Annihilation Palm. No sooner had he struck than Zon Dragon Python spat out a bead. A blinding explosion of light splintered the Dao Annihilation Palm. Lin Moyu's face darkened as he jumped back too slow. His body was torn apart by the light. A flicker of purple, rebirth. The light kept raging. Lin Moyu was shredded to bits again. Again and again he died and returned, until a spatial passage ripped through the light. The void-breaking formation was ignored entirely as 3 huge figures appeared in the air, Zon Dragon Python's 3 remaining greater completion lieutenants summoned by the bead. After 8 deaths, Lin Moyu finally managed to retreat. He looked at the bead and muttered, "A domain treasure." Truly, full completion powerhouses are not easy to kill. Zon Dragon Python had nurtured a domain treasure, a powerful artifact infused with spatial powers, able even to break Lin Moyu's formation and summon his subordinates. A domain treasure is only ever used at the most desperate moments. Possessing one is a sign that a full completion being is resolved to fight to the end. Zon Dragon Python's spatial talent had been poured into this treasure, giving it unrivaled spatial might and breaking through Lin Moyu's formation to bring over his last 3 followers. Lin Moyu actually had to laugh, really not the brightest decision. The Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons are not known for wit, their power comes 90% from talent alone. Zon Dragon Python's success in reaching full completion was mostly luck and innate gifts, not cleverness. Anyone else, if they had a domain treasure, would have used it to escape, not to bring more subordinates in, risking obvious betrayal. Or perhaps the treasure could only summon, not escape. Or maybe he was too proud to flee from defeat by someone weak. The domain treasure glowed, drawing on chaotic and domain power to regenerate Zon Dragon Python's wounds and strength at a terrible price, his domain itself, already near collapse. That's your play. Lin Moyu understood Zon Dragon Python's pride would not let him run. He'd rather burn everything to kill an ant than live. If you had used your domain treasure to escape, I could have done nothing. Now, wrong choices come at a terrible price. For you, that price is your life. A thought and the void warped. A trillion nearly chaos lesser completion undead thralls appeared. Individually weak, maybe, but to kill them all was an endless, hopeless task. The numbers alone left Zon Dragon Python and his last lieutenants dumbfounded. They had never seen anything like this. 4358. 4358. Chapter 4358, Hope is right ahead. Zon Dragon Python and his 3 subordinates did not know that the trillion undead thralls before them were not even a tenth of the total number. Chaos was vast, with countless Chaos Realm powerhouses. Across the whole of chaos, not to mention a trillion at chaos lesser completion, even a trillion at chaos greater completion would not be beyond imagination. But precisely because chaos was so vast, such powerhouses were scattered everywhere, gathering a trillion in one place was nearly impossible. Even in cross-domain wars, when vast numbers appeared on the battlefield, they were spread across the entire warfront, not concentrated into a single mass. With so many enemies, even killing them all would take a very long time. The void-breaking formation roared at full strength, the wings of chaos beat faster, and space was shredded into pulp once more. By the cadence of the ancestor's aura, Lin Moyu judged that Zon Dragon Python's wounds were not fully healed, and his domain was already on the brink of collapse. 2 activations of the domain treasure had consumed a huge amount of domain power. If he used it once more, the domain would certainly shatter. Once the domain collapsed, he would fall from full completion, perhaps even below chaos greater completion. For Zon Dragon Python, this was already a back-to-the-wall battle with no retreat left. Which made things simple. Lin Moyu had many ways to kill him. The simplest: let the undead thralls pin them while the soul-severing needle recovered. In half a day, the needle would be ready. Then, the ancestor would die. Beyond the needle, there was still the catastrophic scepter. Killing Zon Dragon Python simply wasn't difficult. In Lin Moyu's eyes, the ancestor's earlier mistake had cost him his one chance to escape. The undead thralls surged forward, encircling Zon Dragon Python and his 3 lieutenants. A wounded full completion and 3 chaos greater completions, fearsome indeed. The undead thralls were no match head-to-head, and died by the legion. But upon death they returned, not reviving on the field, but instantly replaced by new summons the next second, maintaining a constant total of 1 trillion. Thus, they were a tide that could not be exhausted. No matter how many were slain, the number never dwindled. Facing such a sea, there was no breaking out. Deprived of spatial traversal, they were turtles trapped in a jar. Would Zon Dragon Python regret it? Perhaps, but it no longer mattered. The choice had been made. Time bled by. The battle never paused. The ancestor and his followers repeatedly tried to punch a hole through the encirclement. At first, Zon Dragon Python aimed to kill Lin Moyu. His charges were all in Lin Moyu's direction. Lin Moyu retreated continuously. Since the void-breaking formation had been refined into a disc, it came with a benefit: it could move. So as Lin Moyu fell back, he also shifted the formation with him. The ancestor's group simply could not escape its coverage. Unless they outpaced the formation's movement, any attempt to break free was futile. Time left to them was short. Half a day passed swiftly enough for the soul-severing needle to shine once more. 2 choices presented themselves: strike Zon Dragon Python directly, or kill one of the 3 greater completion lieutenants. Killing the ancestor wasn't guaranteed. The needle would most likely grievously wound him again, as he had already recovered somewhat. Killing a lieutenant was certain. Then use that corpse to kill the other 2, as before. That could net 2 greater completion corpses to turn against the ancestor. Even 2 greater completion corpse detonations might not be enough to kill Zon Dragon Python. Revive them as undead and force self-detonations. Likely the same result. Also, Lin Moyu preferred not to expend those 3 corpses. They might be more valuable later. His thoughts snapped to conclusion: target the ancestor. The needle flashed. It ignored the chaotic space and appeared before Zon Dragon Python in a way Lin Moyu could not comprehend, darting straight for his soul. Sensing the danger, the ancestor faced the same impossible dilemma as before: no way to dodge, no way to block. He could only brace his soul and take it head-on. A scream tore the void. His aura plunged, wounded, and wounded again. He was the linchpin, injured. The breakout faltered immediately. Despair draped the 4. At this rate, there was no hope. Suddenly, the undead encirclement seemed to loosen. The pressure lessened. A looser net meant fewer undead were pressing them, meaning a greater chance to break through. Freshly wounded, the ancestor nonetheless felt a faint flicker of hope. The needle slipped silently back into Lin Moyu's hand and was hidden away at once. Lin Moyu also withdrew quickly, putting great distance between them. He knew the situation had reached the razor's edge. The ancestor still had one final option: self-detonation. The self-detonation of a full completion would be catastrophic. Even a trillion undead might be buried with him. If Lin Moyu were within the blast range, he might die dozens or hundreds of times. There was no need to suffer that. There was another reason to hide the needle: its presence might provoke the ancestor into detonating himself. So Lin Moyu deliberately relaxed the noose, giving the illusion that the undead pressure had weakened and that a breakout might be possible. He hid the needle and staged the retreat. He did not expect to trick the ancestor entirely only to delay him. He needed only a little time. Half a day would do. And it worked. With hope in his chest, the ancestor did not self-detonate. He, with his men, pressed on for the breakout despite heavy wounds. Their speed grew. The undead died in droves. The number seemed to thin quickly. Gradually, Lin Moyu, who had kept his distance, came back into their sights. Seeing him again, the ancestor's killing intent surged. Dragon roars shook the void as he charged straight at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu cooperated, putting on a mask of panic. He retreated quickly. This time, the formation disk's speed seemed not quite enough to keep pace with his withdrawal. The ancestor felt the calm, orderly space beyond the formation's edge. If he could just cross that boundary, he would be a dragon in the sea, free to roam chaos. Even if Lin Moyu wasn't slain today, he could recover and return to settle accounts later. For a full completion, a few million years was a trifle. Push harder, once we're out, we're safe. The ancestor growled. As you command. The three chorused, hope flashing in their eyes. Their pace quickened. Lin Moyu backed away. The formation disk lagged just a bit, bringing the escape point closer and closer. Hope swelled. Success drew near. At last, half a day later, they reached the formation's edge. Lin Moyu was not far off. Once they stepped beyond the array, Zon Dragon Python would strike him down at once. Revenge could wait, but if opportunity presented itself, why not seize it? Then he saw Lin Moyu's smile and a silver needle in his hand. The silver needle flashed. Trapped. A glacial chill rose from the depths of his soul. Too late. 4359. 4359. Chapter 4359, Beyond Estimate. Corpse Explosion. The soul-severing needle's third strike almost buried Zon Dragon Python's final hope. His soul annihilated, the ancestor who had still been struggling a moment before now drifted silently in the chaotic void. His three lieutenants sensed the ancestor's passing and howled in grief together. Not only they within hundreds of millions of li, chaos itself boiled. Gales screamed, chaos chi collided and thundered unceasingly, as if the heavens mourned the fallen. The fall of a full completion powerhouse was rare in chaos. Their standing was second only to Supremes. Chaos favored them, bound to them by countless threads. When Zon Dragon Python fell, the power he bore from chaos rapidly dispersed and returned to chaos. Especially his domain on the spot, it overturned and shattered. The domain phantom splintered into countless fragments, meaning the true domain did as well. Lin Moyu watched and noticed the domain did not utterly vanish. Unlike its master, the domain did not cease with him. Once he died, the masterless domain shattered into myriad fragments that flew to the four winds and hid within chaos. Those shards brimmed with vitality. In chaos, they would gestate anew. Perhaps after tens of millions of years, they would coalesce into a fresh domain, birthing innumerable living things. This is the cycle of domains. Lin Moyu gained a hint of understanding. To chaos, a domain was just another being, having its own cycle of rebirth. Watching it, he faintly sensed certain supreme truths of heaven and earth, yet too hazy still to grasp. If ever becoming a supreme, equal to the catastrophic supreme's level, perhaps then the true logic could be understood. Amid the lament for a fallen full completion, the battle did not halt. The undead thralls continued their bombardment of the three chaos greater completion dragon pythons. They fought back through grief, their strength even higher than before. But no matter how their power surged, they could not escape. Lin Moyu took note, puzzled. Little Peng, why? Little Peng answered, most chaos-born races have a passive trait we call bloodline reversion. Put simply, imagine the bloodline's total strength is conserved across a race. As the number of members grows, that strength dilutes, each individual receives a thinner share. Of course the total isn't constant forever. As more members, especially powerhouses, emerge, the sum slowly rises. Now the ancestor has died. He was full completion. After his death, the freed share of bloodline power is redistributed among the race. The stronger the member, the greater the share they receive. Lin Moyu was surprised. So the dragon python race should all know a full completion among them has fallen. Little Peng said, more precisely their own full completions would sense that a peer has fallen. But they wouldn't know exactly who unless their race possessed a bloodline communication ability to transmit information instantaneously. Such races are rare. That ability is exceedingly difficult. Lin Moyu nodded. Bloodline communication ignoring distance to speak through shared lineage was terrifyingly potent. Even Supremes might not do it, naturally it was rare. He mused, by that logic, if any dragon python is one step from full completion, they could leap across by seizing this moment. In theory, yes, Little Peng replied. Lin Moyu recalled a saying, when a whale falls, myriad lives arise. The fall of a full completion might actually invigorate the eastern extreme dragon python race, perhaps not wholly a bad thing. In that case, let's add a marker for the graveyard. He tapped a finger. The undead thralls withdrew wildly, opening a vast void, and Zon dragon python's body turned to dust and dispersed. Boom! A colossal detonation shook chaos for billions of li. Using a full completion body as the material for corpse explosion unleashed power beyond Lin Moyu's imagination. His void-breaking formation was shredded instantly. Space was torn limb, from surface to deepest layers, every inch ripped apart. The sprites hidden within space did not escape, they perished with it. Fortunately, being of one root with the elemental lich, so long as Lin Moyu lived, they would not truly die. Death to them was only a return, soon reborn in the wings of chaos. Not only them, the instigator himself did not escape. The vast force gave him no chance to run. Lin Moyu was blown to pieces in the blast as well. Luckily he reacted fast. The instant the blast began he sensed wrongness and, first of all, sheltered Little Peng. He could resurrect, Little Peng could not. Death would be death. The three Chaos Greater Completion Dragon Python's primary targets were the first to be killed. Purple light flickered. Lin Moyu resurrected instantly. Without waiting for his body to fully reform, the undying fire flew out to cover a massive area. The blast's force still raged, the undying fire wavering within it, yet it seized the flesh fragments left by the three dragon pythons, converting them into reborn. Within the explosion, Lin Moyu underwent 3 consecutive rebirths before stabilizing. He gazed upon the shattered, slowly mending space, eyes deep with shock. He had not imagined that using a full completion for corpse explosion would reach such might. Even a full completion's full-strength strike could not be this strong. No, nor could their self-detonation. Yet in corpse explosion, the destructive force exceeded a full completion's self-detonation by dozens, even hundreds of times. Why is this? He pondered as space recovered. The undying fire burned bright. The three dragon pythons, newly dead, were reassembling bodies, advancing toward rebirth as undead. Lin Moyu had chosen to kill Zon dragon python precisely to preserve these three. They might help locate other fragments of the cross-domain grand array. To him, they were more valuable than the ancestor. After a moment's thought, sudden insight. He realized the reason. Corpse explosion seemed to ignite only the ancestor's body, but it wasn't just the body. It was the domain as well. A domain is a full completion's foundation. In corpse explosion, the domain's power and the powerhouse's power were one. So when detonating a full completion, the domain's power was counted too. And how strong is a domain? A vast world of its own, with unnumbered living things. Thus erupted such staggering force. It seems full completions are indeed on another level. Lin Moyu exhaled softly. Space had now mostly mended. 3 brand new undead knelt reverently before him, awaiting his command. 4360, 4360. Chapter 4360, A Terrifying, Eerie Will. The 3 Chaos Greater Completion Eastern Extreme Dragon Pythons opened a spatial passage, carrying Lin Moyu and Little Peng swiftly through the chaotic void. More precisely, they were carrying Little Peng across space. Lin Moyu simply sat upon Little Peng's head. With innate spatial gifts, the dragon pythons were incredibly fast, each traversal spanning billions of li, far outstripping Lin Moyu's own speed. Just as Lin Moyu had expected, the reason these 3 had not come earlier was because they too had found fragments of the cross-domain grand array after it was shattered. But when Zon dragon python forcefully used his domain treasure to summon them, they were compelled to come. Their racist structure allowed no defiance of the ancestors' order. After Zon dragon python was killed, they became undead reborn, obediently guiding Lin Moyu to the fragments. Little Peng still trembled at the memory. That explosion just now was too terrifying. I felt like it was nearly at the level of a supreme. Lin Moyu shook his head. Far from it, not even a fraction of a supreme's true might. He had never personally witnessed a supreme strike, but the images left by the catastrophic supreme were enough to analyze the difference. The blast had shattered billions of li of chaotic void. It seemed strong, but compared to a supreme, it was worlds apart. And even that was only the tip of the iceberg. Without becoming a supreme, one could hardly fathom their terror. He muttered, according to them, the 3 fragments they found are all small, the largest one's whereabouts remain unknown. When the grand array shattered, it split into 5, 4 small, 1 large. The large piece was the true core. All 4 small fragments combined were still inferior to the 1 large core, but that largest piece had vanished. Little Pung said, even if I don't know how to find it, Father must have a way. There is a way, but first those 3 must be collected. The best tool was the cause-seeking ring. But with 4 fragments in play, its guidance would scatter. Only by first collecting 3 could the ring be used to point to the last. Even so, Lin Moyu felt uneasy. Things were likely not so simple, that last piece would be hard to find. And after finding it, it must be repaired, no small task. He was confident he could do it, but time would be long. He had other business in the eastern extreme. Were it not related to his route home, he would not wish to spend so long on this. In truth, this would be far simpler if a supreme intervened. With their ability, locating and repairing would be trivial. But for so many years no supreme had done it. Why? A day later, after an unknown distance, they finally saw a remnant of the cross-domain array in the endless chaos chi. This fragment was slightly larger than the one he had secured. Chaos chi cloaked it, and within the chi, many dragon pythons circled, greedily siphoning power from the array. Because the grand array was broken, power leaked through many gaps, otherwise such pythons would never have been able to truly shake it. Seeing their chieftain return, the dragon pythons cried out in excitement. Kill them all. With Lin Moyu's order, the 3 greater completion dragon pythons charged with overwhelming killing intent. Lin Moyu also produced a new void-breaking formation disc. The previous had been destroyed. This one was newly refined, a little stronger than before. The wings of chaos vibrated. Countless sprites flew out again, making space even more chaotic. No matter the enemy, Lin Moyu would never grow careless, never give a chance. Under the slaughter of the 3 greater completions, the 100+ dragon pythons here had no survivors. They died without understanding why their own chieftains killed them. But it no longer mattered. They were soon reborn as undead, becoming Lin Moyu's servants. Next was refining the remnant array. For others, a complex and arduous process. For Lin Moyu, a pleasure and a lesson. Through it he could study a supreme's formation path. Even a non-specialist supreme's understanding outstripped his own. As it is said, master one method, and all others become easier. As with him now, learning new arts, simple spells came to hand effortlessly. Yet gradually, he sensed something wrong. His brows knit. Why are there traces of him? Within the remnants, he saw the catastrophic supreme's formation style. The catastrophic supreme had fallen ages ago, time uncountable. And back then, Tao erased all traces of that supreme. But every person's formation hand is unique. Even if one tried to imitate, it would always be merely similar, never true. Lin Moyu was certain parts of this fragment were arranged by the catastrophic supreme. So the catastrophic supreme's formation back then was not destroyed by Tao, but remained until now. He pondered, unease rising. The past was not quite as he had imagined. He slowly closed his eyes, dredging every memory, threading what he knew together for analysis. Gradually, a thread appeared. A possibility formed. Father, are you all right? The voice echoed in his soul Little Pung's concern. Lin Moyu opened his eyes to see Little Pung's worried stare. Nothing, just thinking, too deep. Oh, it's just your soul fluctuations were strange. Strange soul fluctuations. A sense of wrongness. Why would his soul tremble? Was it simply deep thought? He tapped a finger. A domain phantom bloomed behind him. The time great Tao flowed out, reversing time within a very small area. He could not rewind large areas, but covering himself posed no problem. In the stream of time, he saw himself with eyes closed, brows locked, occasionally a flicker of pain. Pain? When had he felt pain? His expression tightened, on guard as if against a mortal foe. He knew this state. It was not normal. His face changed. The rewind halted, not by his choice. The flow simply ended there. A chill rose from his soul, cold sweat beading his skin. Little Pung stared blankly, clueless. Only Lin Moyu knew the cause, and it could not be spoken aloud. When he had been thinking before, someone had come. Or rather, some will had arrived. This being was absurdly strong. When it came, he sensed it, but it pressed his mind down. Then, afterwards, it erased that section of time, leaving him with no awareness upon waking. Such an existence was too terrifying. Lin Moyu felt it was at least a supreme and perhaps even Tao itself.